Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, how are you doing on this fine Saturday evening?
Great. Really good.
Great. He rubs his hands as he's wearing a Vancouver Canucks shirt. What the hell?
What's wrong with that?
What are you wearing? You're wearing a Canucks shirt, Grumpy. What is that?
I'm just showing some love to the Canucks. They were the only team on this road trip to show the Islanders any love by just giving them a game, by putting in some hideous goaltender. So I'm good. You know what? Thank you, Vancouver. That's all I have to say. The Islanders aren't good enough to win on their own. They got to have somebody give them a game. So.
Oh, good gracious, Grumpy! I tell you, you're talking about they put in Spencer Martin, good old Spencer Martin for the Vancouver Canucks. But yes, for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. This is a twice a week All Islanders podcast that takes place every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're new to the channel, we invite you to stick around a while. We invite you to subscribe on YouTube, to like on Facebook, and to follow on Twitter. And if you enjoy the content, right? If you think, these guys come out with some pretty decent stuff, I kind of enjoy listening to them. The best way to let us know that you enjoy what we do is by leaving a thumbs up. Apparently, it helps the algorithm. It gets mine and the grumpy old man's words out to the masses.
I'm going to say, even if you think we put up crappy garbage, like it anyway. Give us a thumbs up. Give a 5-star review. We don't care. We're not proud.
Oh man. And we also have another podcast. Is an all sports podcast where we talk anything and everything athletics. We talk world football, we talk the NFL, we talk college football, we talk basketball, NCAA, NBA, we talk MLB, we talk NHL, we talk anything and everything sports on that show. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That takes place every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And even though the people who listen to that also will realize TJ said that his New Year's resolution did not pertain to that podcast, which is
it was the New Year's resolution was for this show specifically. I said I will be on time to this Islanders Never Say Die podcast pretty much every single day I can do so. We're Grumpy. I'm 2 for 2 to start this year. So, hey, I'm on time, Grumpy. Look at that. You got to be proud of me, aren't you? All the fans listening at home, I know you're proud of me.
No, I totally disagree.
You're proud that I could show up on time for the show.
No, that doesn't make me proud. That's what you're supposed to do.
I know.
Typical millennial thinks, oh, I should get a pat on the back because I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing what I promise. And I need aren't you proud that I was able to meet the guidelines that I set for myself? No, that's what you're supposed to do.
I need an Eddie Attaboy, Grumpy. But that TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, you can find that in the link in the description below, or you could find it as a featured page here on our YouTube. And that's what I've got pulled up on the screen where you can see TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Big TJ, flashing colors, beep, 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 neon TJ, and the Grumpy Old Man.
Look at that, Grumpy. You don't think? Hold on. I think the letters of both of our names are kind of comparable in size.
Yeah, sure are. even the "and" gets more rep than I do.
Good gracious. Oh man, off to a good start. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the Islanders' recent back-to-back losses against Edmonton and then the Calgary Flames. We'll talk about the Islanders being 41 games into the season. Holy crap. Doesn't it feel like just yesterday the season started and we're at the halfway mark? Right now, the Islanders 41 games into the regular season. They have 46 points on the year. So if they were to continue this pace, they'd end the season with 92 points. They do have the front portion of the season was much weaker strength of schedule, and the back portion will get tougher. We're going to talk a little bit about what do we expect regarding playoffs. Are we expecting to make the postseason? What are we expecting from this Islanders team throughout the rest of the 41 games of the year, Grumpy? So there's a lot to talk about, a lot to digest too.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's go.
Well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Edmonton. I mean, that was the first game we had played. Man, oh man, was that ugly.
I think we were outshot in the first period 18-2.
Yes.
And it wasn't even that close, honestly. There was it was like we were just chasing the puck the whole period. I thought we played better in the second, and I thought we were pretty good in the third. But what we're seeing is every single game we come out flat to start the first period. It was a problem under Barry Trotz most times,
Yeah.
or under Trotz, if we were good the first period, come out flat the second. I don't know who to blame on that, but I'm getting on the players a little bit. These guys, they've all been around forever together. And don't you know that you have to have intensity when you start the game? I mean, that's the one thing that's been consistent is we come out flat. It seems like every single game. Disappointing as an organization. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right. It is something we struggled with under Barry Trotz. No doubt about that. I will also say this. The Islanders, I think, scoring in the first period were like the third or the second worst team in the NHL. We do not score enough goals in the first period. We do not capitalize enough in the first period. Remember that item we were talking about before everybody else was talking about it? I would say maybe about like the first or the second week of the season, all these late game heroics, right? We're still a very, very good third period team, but it's that first period and coming out slow and sluggish, which is really going ahead and shooting ourselves in the foot. There's a lot of spots and room for improvement upon this team. Our power play is still a big pain point for us. Now, that's something that under Trotz we started with. We started off the season very, very successful in the power play and kind of faded over time.
Yeah. Okay. The power play is one thing.
Yeah, let's not drag it to the power play. Let's talk about the games because I kind of have a viewpoint for what we're going to do. Let's go back to Edmonton, though. Grumpy, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to try to lead you down the power play hole. But, against Edmonton, man, oh, man, it looked like we were moving in suspended animation. Again,
another team that has pace, and you see where we struggle in that regard. I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Our gap control has been terrible between defense and forward group. They're just other teams. They're just walking right into our zone. Is it the defense playing too far back? I don't think so. I think it's our forwards aren't coming back hard enough. It's tough. I mean, I had an epiphany this morning.
Uh-oh.
I had an epiphany.
Uh-oh.
And if anyone disagrees, they're just flat out wrong. This team is not winning anything. We're not making playoffs. I've just about mailed in the season at this point. I watched one game without Mat Barzal against Calgary, and I'm like, holy crap. We can barely even get in the zone. I thought Zach Parise played well against Calgary.
Yeah, I think Zach Parise has played well all season long.
But you're watching Captain Average. The only thing he's above average now at is turning the puck over in wall battles. I never see him come out with the puck anymore. He'll go in there and somebody just pick his pocket. Croc's been miserable. Bailey has been even worse than miserable.
Yes. It's been awful.
I mean, I can't, it's hard to watch. Honestly, they've been hard to watch. And the one thing we can always count on is maximum effort, right? We're not seeing that. Or maybe that is their maximum effort at this point in time.
At the beginning of the season, we were, guns a-blazing. We were a team that was how did you describe Grumpy? I remember you had an adjective.
Gutsy. I thought we were a gutsy team.
Them picky or plucky, something like that.
Plucky, gutsy, yes.
Plucky team. And I like the way you had described that. A plucky team, a team that no matter what, doesn't matter skill difference on the ice, we're still going to see the fight and the battle from the team. And that's what makes all Islander fans love the New York Islanders.
Yes.
There is no quit, no fight in that team. I don't think there's quit and fight in the team, but I think there's a difference in effort level that we saw at the beginning of the year than what we've seen recently. Chalk that up to a team with a lot of forwards in their 30s. Chalk that up to maybe just the wear and tear of the season. Chalk it up to maybe the ebbs and flows of the season. There's a reason for it. Is it age? Is it age? Is it age related? Is it, is it a situation where it's just that just things aren't going well right now? I think it could have a little bit to do with both.
I think it's a combination of things. I think the fact that we're a little bit older, but we've never been a speed demon team.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing, I think we've got maybe, you see a bunch of guys with some nagging little injuries, which as you get older, You tend to get those a little bit more often. They tend to linger a little bit longer. We're playing guys who have not been in the NHL before, and I'm not blaming, Holmstrom when he was in there or Ratu or anything. It's just the natural process, right? You come into the league, and there's going to be a little ramp-up time. Not everybody comes in like Mario Lemieux and scores on his first shift. It's just not the way it really is. Yeah. So, and I'm not going to dump on Simon Holmstrom here or Atu Ratu, but these are guys who've never played in the league before, so it's a step up, right? So they're naturally going to be a little bit tentative. Holmstrom's out right now with an injury. You see Wallstrom's out. You see Palmieri's out. You see Clutterbuck's been out. You see Mat Barzal missing a game. That was catastrophic last night. You watch that, it's like, holy crap. Without Mat Barzal, wow. I don't know how we're going to win any games, honestly.
I want to go to the road trip as a whole. We talked about how slow we had started, and it's every single game on that road trip. And maybe we're having some recency bias as to the reason, as to the current mood on the show. But every single game we played on this road trip, even against the lowly, miserable Vancouver Canucks, we were dominated in the first period. We were dominated by the Canucks. We were lucky to come out with that at the end of that period tied or maybe down a goal. We were dominated by the Canucks in the first period. We were dominated by the Seattle Kraken in the first period. We were dominated by the Edmonton Oilers in the first period. And we were dominated most recently by the Calgary Flames in the first period. My God, they were up 3-0 at one point. And if they weren't falling asleep and had a bad transition, they would have gone at the end of the first period at the 3-goal advantage. It's really tough. We had talked about this. What is the sustainability if you're going down 2 or 3 goals every single game? How consistently can you expect your team to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to up and have this uphill battle every single night to have a comeback victory? It's just really, really tough to expect a team to do that over an 82-game season.
I would say Mount Everest because, that's the tallest mountain in the world. So that's what it's like climbing Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, that's a new one. But it's usually, climbing Mount Everest, toughest thing to climb. Funny because I watched a documentary on earthquake in Nepal and what happened, with people who were killed who were trying to hike up to Everest. And I looked at them like, that'd not be something I'd want to do.
You don't want to climb up Mount Everest, Grumpy?
No, not when they said, there's a river of ice. And they showed it time lapse. It's like just like a big river of ice that comes down this big valley, and you got to hike over this on lat. I'm like, no. And then it was. I love documentaries, not about bad things happening, but I'm just saying it's Mount Everest. Okay,
yeah. Let's get back.
But like I said, to get back on track. Earlier in the year, we were able to make comebacks against lesser teams by going down a goal or maybe 2 and coming back in the third period. What we're finding now is, and that's easier at the beginning of the year, right? Teams are just kind of still getting their feet under them.
Your legs are fresher.
And right. But I'm just saying other teams, they kind of don't know what they have yet. Okay, we lose a game here or there. Maybe we slip a little bit. But now as you're getting towards the business end of the season, you're seeing teams are more resolute after that first period. Okay, we got a 2-goal lead. We're not going to fall asleep, and they're playing better. And what we're also finding is, as you mentioned earlier, the beginning of our season was one of the easiest in the NHL. Now we're playing better teams, and it's tougher to come back on them. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing now. They go up 2 goals on us, and it's like, well, maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll get it within 1, but usually not. It's just, I think we just kind of look at it now and say, this Islander team is not good enough. I would hope that Lou Lamoriello at this point would realize, say, you know what? We've done everything we can do. It's time to break it down. Let's start moving some of these pieces that we can move.
Okay. Well, I want to try to take it before we start getting down that hole, like you like to try to bring fucking everything down, Grumpy. I really want to take it and talk about the games we have. We're going to talk about Brock Nelson on the All-Star. We're going to talk, because you mentioned earlier you mentioned earlier about the gap between our forwards and defense as teams are going and transitioning into our zone. That's 100% accurate. As I've mentioned before, I have not been listening to any Islander telecasts, not a single one. I've been listening to every single opposing team's telecast over the last month and a half. There's a reason for it. And, when I'm listening to these telecasts, they're bringing up points just like that, where they're saying, wow, last night for Calgary, they said, Calgary's having way too easy of a job. They're just able to walk right out. They're able to skate right over the blue line unimpeded because, their forwards, when they go ahead and get past the initial surge of the Islander forwards, there's a huge gap between that Islanders forward group and the Islanders defense. And they have a lot of 3-on-2 breaks, and they're able to go ahead and get transition opportunities solely because there's that huge gap. And, our defense is back, but our forward group, because we're asking them to do so much more regarding forecheck, we're asking them to do so much more regarding trying to produce in the offensive zone. And even from our defense, it leaves these odd man opportunities coming in the other direction, which leads for these high danger scoring chances coming up for opposing teams.
I've been watching the last couple of games, some of my whipping boys, because I want to know if I'm being too hard on them, honestly.
Who are your whipping boys, Grumpy? Who have you been watching specifically?
Average, Josh Bailey, Croc. Everyone knows my whipping boys. The same guys who get an awful lot of praise for being not really that good of players. We got too many passengers on this team right now. I look at Josh Bailey. He's just drifting around out there. There's no hustle from him coming back on the defensive end. There's no urgency going forward. He's just skating around in circles all by himself because no one pays any attention to him. Anders Lee, he goes into a corner with the puck. He's not coming out with it. I don't know. Maybe he's injured. I have no idea. But he does not win any more puck battles.
Or not. Okay, I won't say
I'm just saying.
But he does it with consistency, right? That used to be one of the strong points of his game.
Yes.
He does a good job of standing, fighting for space in front of the net, good job of redirecting opportunities, hammering in garbage goals, and he can fight along the boards, but he's kind of subsiding a little bit as that is a strong suit.
Right. And I mean, this is your captain, right? The one thing you're always able to depend on him was having that effort, going in hard to the boards, coming out with that puck, kicking it out to teammates. Now, one guy goes in against him, they're taking the puck away from him. Like I said, maybe there's an injury, maybe something's going on that we're not aware about, but it's noticeable that he's not coming out with the pucks. He's not able to shield guys off along the walls. It's disappointing. And Josh Bailey just a nightmare at this point.
How many more opportunities do we need to see Josh Bailey pretty much on a night in, night out basis have a one-on-one opportunity to shoot, put a puck on net, and he passes out of it? I'm talking about on top of the goalie. Just as he's so timid, unwilling to put the puck on net. It's beyond frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. Again, Josh Bailey, I think, has certain skills that he offers and brings to the table, but they talk about that Mamba mentality, that killer instinct. Josh Bailey almost is the inverse of the killer instinct. Anytime you could give him an empty net, and I feel like he's not going to go ahead and shoot the puck. Maybe he'll try to pass it, into the empty net, but he just doesn't have that killer instinct, Grump.
It's a shame though, because I forget which game it was. He came out with a mindset of shooting the puck.
Yeah.
And you know what? Josh Bailey's got a pretty good shot.
He has games like that, absolutely, where he's going to shoot the puck and he's going to be more deliberate with his offensive strategy on the ice.
And I'm just like, okay, somebody told him to shoot the puck. Probably said, you got to shoot the puck, Josh. And he did. And while he didn't score, it's like, okay, you know what? His shot is pretty good. Why does he never use it? I don't understand it. People say that about Mat Barzal, right? Mat Barzal has a lot of shots on goal this year. A lot. He has been shooting the puck. I thought he was a little bit snakebit earlier on. Now he was hot. Here's the thing. I have to think if he skated pregame yesterday, he's going to be ready to go on Tuesday.
I would think so too. I don't think it's a severe injury. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's just something he's dealing with, more of like a day-to-day variety. But as they listed, right, his lower body injury.
He's desperately needed for this team. Desperate. Watching yesterday's game against Calgary, oh my God, it was like night and day. It was like, where are we going to get any offense from?
we've talked about this, right? And how hot Mat Barzal is, how he's been performing. Last 7 games played, 7 goals, 3 assists. He's been pretty much the offensive impetus on this team all season long. And as of recent, he just strapped the damn team's anemic offense, just strapped it on his back and said, "I'm carrying you up freaking Mount Kilimanjaro, Grump."
Okay.
But yeah, that's a guy that we can't afford to miss for an
No.
extended time period. You know, you at the 41 game mark, the team's played 41 games. He didn't score for the first 16, 17 games. He's got 11 goals on the season, right? He's technically on pace to have his first 20 goal season. I'm sorry, his second 20 goal season. As a rookie, he had 22 goals, but he's on pace to have another 20 goal season this year.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, he's the best player on our team, the goaltender, Sorokin notwithstanding. But, he's invaluable for us producing anything offensively. I don't know where we go without him, honestly. Glad we have him signed. We need to do something to upgrade our forward group desperately next year. I'm not saying at the deadline, you overpay at the deadline. Let's just say, hey, let's not do that, please. Let's not throw away first-round draft picks. We need to start going after high-end free agents in the offseason. Johnny Gaudreau would have been perfect to play with Mat Barzal. I don't want to go back down that path.
I don't want you to go back down that path. Thank you.
But what I'm saying is those are the type of talents we need to bring into this organization. Just has to happen.
Well, I'm not bringing it in that area, but you had mentioned, I think it's a good segue, right? I think that Calgary, we still looked slow, sluggish, lack of enthusiasm, lack of energy. You're starting to see a lot of people online talking about, oh no, even if Ratu, let's say if Mat Barzal is still injured for any sort of time period, we can't have Ratu play his 9th game because it burns one of those entry-level contract years. So we can't afford to let him do that. We've got to go ahead and find some other alternative. I don't disagree with that, especially if you're only going to be playing Ratu for 6 to 8 minutes a night. Call up a number, a plethora of those Bridgeport players. Don't worry about. You should not burn entry level contract year number 1 unless you're saying we're embracing a change of direction. We're embracing selling off pieces at the deadline. You shouldn't go ahead and burn one of those entry level years.
True. It's not time to just throw it all away yet. No. It's not that time yet. But I think you're at the point where anybody on an expiring deal, you have to move. All right. I'm not saying get rid of everyone, but you have to move pieces that are on expiring deals. I think it's so obvious. You look at Varlamov yesterday. All right. First game back, looked a little shaky, right? How much do you need a backup goalie in a season like this? I don't think he's very important at all. Scott Mayfield made a couple of bad turnovers yesterday. Everyone knows I love Scott Mayfield. Now's the time to move him. 30 years old, 29, 30 years old. You get something for a guy like that. A proven playoff performer.
Okay. Let's not. Okay. You keep dragging it down this
way.
Well,
you mentioned it.
That's not where. No, you weren't paying attention. You were doing some research. What I was mentioning was Ratu fans saying, no, we don't want to go ahead and burn contract.
He's already playing in the league. That contract's burned. It's not. It's
9. Listen before you talk. It's 9 games. He has to play more than 9 games in order to burn one of those entry-level contracts. The entry-level contract year number 1. Got to play more than 9 games.
I believe you're mistaken.
Hey, buddy, I've done the research. I'm not mistaken, Grumpy. You don't know about this one, just like you didn't know about the cap. Trust me, it's in 9 games. So that's how that works. But I was just talking about what the people online are talking about. Hey, if Mat Barzal misses substantial time, we should not go ahead and burn that first year on the entry-level contract for Ratu. That's what I was talking about. You drug it somewhere else.
Okay, to me, that's for the Canadian junior leagues. Has nothing to do with him playing 9 games up and going down to the AHL. You are a professional in the AHL. When you play in the juniors, you're not a professional. Okay? He's a professional. He's playing in the AHL, which is a professional league.
I'll let Kevin Kurtz and Stefan Rosner let them know that they were wrong. I'll let all the guys who cover the team every day let them know.
Make sure you know. Make sure you
And trust me, if you play more than a 9, you burn one of the years of the entry level contract. Trust me on that one. Just like with the cap, when I tell you that it's not prorated, it's not prorated. Just trust me on those things, please.
Then how do you go from $2 million by the deadline? You're going to have 7.5. How do you get to that number? How do you get to that number? Tell me. Explain it to me.
We have injuries. We have injuries at the moment. We're not taking it down this rabbit hole, Grumpy. Do not redirect your anger towards me.
Everyone said this is what we have here. At the deadline, we'll have this much because it accrues over the year. That's what people have said.
When you acquire a player via trade, your entire player's cap hit is now your responsibility. You don't trade a guy.
You only pay the portion that is still part of that year.
You were wrong when you made that dumb statement last year, and you're wrong when you're making the statement again.
Here's the thing. I want you to explain to me how, if we have $2.5 million in cap space to start the season, when we get to the trade deadline, how are we going to have $7.5 million? Explain it to me.
You want to know how, Grumpy? Just like if you trade and acquire a player after the first game of the year, you acquire their entire cap hit. If the player has the portion that
they have not played yet.
You let me talk. You want me to answer your question?
Well, you're wrong, though.
Put the quiet cap on. Put the quiet cap on for a second. If you go ahead and acquire a player, if you play one game, let's say he's got a $7 million contract, you inherit the $7 million contract, Grumpy. You don't say, well, he played one game with the Anaheim Ducks, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get $6.95 million worth of a cap hit. You get the entire cap hit. It's the reason why teams at the deadline have to withhold and retain cap if you're on the team that's trading to help them facilitate the trade. There's still the full cap hit and implication. We went over the same thing last year and the same thing 2 years ago. It's like every year it's the same song and dance around the deadline with you, man. I'm sorry. I'm frustrated about it.
We need to get Phil on here. I need to get Phil on here so he can say, TJ, you're a fucking dumbass. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. We have gone down this before, and you're fucking wrong. You're just flat out wrong.
When you went ahead and said that last time, Phil said, by the way, Grumpy's not right on the cap thing. I said, I know.
Oh my God.
You're not right. You're not right.
Explain to me how we have a cap value of $2.5 million to start the year, and it keeps on going up, and at the deadline, we're going to have 7.5. Explain that to me. Explain it to me. How does our cap value go up as the season goes on?
When you have players on the IR, Grumpy, they don't have
to do with the IR.
God almighty, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your ass, Grumpy. Jesus.
It has nothing to do with the IR. Absolutely nothing.
When you have players, okay, let's go and jump into the Kevin Kurtz comment, Grumpy, because Kevin Kurtz talked about that, right? They talk about man games missed there, and they talk about, when you've got that cap hit, when people are listed on the IR, Grumpy, they're not counting against your cap. They're not counting
the IR. It has nothing to do with the IR.
You asked, how did we jump from 700,000 or whatever arbitrary number you threw out there, or 2 million to 7 million?
If you look at Cap Friendly, okay, and they're spot on with how they handle the cap. Spot on. They say at the beginning of the year we had 2.5 million, and at the deadline, if everything stays the same, we're going to have 7.5. Explain to me how our cap value goes up $5 million. Lou Lamoriello said it in the offseason. We hold that cap, and then we have more money at the deadline. He's flat out come out and said that.
Okay, you talking about us being able to have a little bit extra cap to utilize on players comparatively to the cap hit of the player being different and prorated are two different topics of discussion.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so you're thinking, just so I'm putting myself in Grumpy's brain, I'm sorry for everybody who likes to enjoy the podcast. We're getting very pedantic because Grumpy won't leave this subject and move on when he's wrong. So you think not only should the Islanders get more cap space added to them because they're holding less, but additionally, let's say you got $2 million of available cap space. Your cap increases and increases the longer you hold that. So that would indicate you're able to gain a little bit extra cap space. Not only that, but you think when the player is traded, you should also get a cap benefit on that. I'm just confused. Grumpy, the additional cap space that's added to the team would be like that benefit that you're talking about for the prorated cap hit of the player.
That's all I'm talking about.
No, the player's full cap hit gets moved to you. It's as simple as that. The player's full cap hit gets moved to you when you acquire them.
Let's just move on.
Please. Let's do that. Jesus Christ. So I want to talk about Brock Nelson before we got down this hole. Brock Nelson, Grumpy old man. Listen to the All-Star game. Holy shit. If this is not the freaking cartel at its finest, I don't know what is. Brock Nelson this year has had, I'd say, a good year. I don't think he's the best player on this team. Sorokin not selected to the All-Star game. Mat Barzal, I think Mat Barzal's been better than Brock Nelson. Mat Barzal not been selected to the All-Star game. I guess they can be voted in by fan vote, but our representative for the Islanders is Brock freaking Nelson.
Who cares? It's an All-Star game. It means nothing. Josh Bailey made the All-Star game once. It means nothing.
Jesus,
it means nothing. And here's the thing: it was picked by the league. The one player's picked by the league.
Oh my God!
What does it matter? It doesn't even matter. Also, who even watches the All-Star game anymore? I don't.
Oh man,
it's turned into a carnival now. I don't even care. Who cares? All I care about is how they play for the Islanders, and he's playing like dog shit, just like the majority of the team right now. He had a nice hot start. He was really getting pretty accurate with his shot, and he's resorted back to the Brock Nelson we know and love, streaky as hell. He ain't done shit for a month. He has done nothing for a month.
And it's a lot of the players, too, that haven't done that for a while. But I looked up, right? I did, because, again, I found a way to find out, right? I did some digging before the podcast. I was like, how many empty net points does Brock Nelson really have? I was a little curious. I said, Mat Barzal, we know, has 0 empty net points. So all of his points are either in 5-on-5 hockey or they're earned on a power play. But Grumpy, what would you guess? How many empty net points would you assume Brock Nelson has if you had to guess?
I would say 4.
Yeah, you're right. I think I sent it to you in the text message.
You did. You showed it to me. And Parise also has 4.
Yeah.
They both have 3 goals. So anyone tells, oh, man, look, leading goal scorer. Yeah, okay, they're empty net goals. And here's the thing, they all count. But like I said, I'd rather go, who's scoring goals when they really matter?
Brock Nelson has 15 goals on the year with 3 empty netters. So with a goalie in front of him, he's got 12 goals on the ice this year. And again, I know we're trying to get down in the weeds, right? I don't go ahead and demean Alexander Ovechkin and say, well, Alexander Ovechkin has 5 empty net goals. He leads the NHL with 5 or I can't remember, it's 5 or 8 empty net goals for him, but he leads the NHL in empty net goals. All goals are the same. Just the thing that Mat Barzal's never put on the ice standard at the end of the game, so we can't go ahead and get those empty net points. But Brock Nelson, he's been a servant to the organization, or he's been a good servant to the organization. That being said, All-Star game, I was kind of baffled by it. When I saw that, I was at the gym and I saw that was released. I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
And what you remember what my response was?
You don't care about those things because you don't care.
I could care less. I could care less. And then you find out that it's the league who picked them. I care even less than that. I mean, you know what? How about you let the players pick? Oh, here's the thing. Since it's a game for the fans anyway, how about just let the fans pick?
Why not? That's what I'm saying. It's not selected by the fans. It's selected by freaking this weird representative board. They determine who's going to be added.
Okay. Now it's like a 3-on-3 game. Isn't that that's like a series of 3-on-3 games?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is now?
It's like pond/river hockey.
Okay. If you're playing a pond/river hockey game, as a fan, who would you rather play? Who would you rather watch to play? Mat Barzal or Brock Nelson? I mean, come on. Is that even a question? No.
Yes.
I mean,
I'd say you'd rather watch Mat Barzal. I think it's pretty clear and obvious.
Let me just say, congratulations to Brock Nelson at 31 years old, making his first All-Star game. Good for you.
But we talk about the cartel. We've talked about the Islanders media cartel. The Islanders cartel in general is why he was selected. He's played well this year. He has. But if you're looking at the best player on the team, he's not been the best player on the team. I'm sorry. You cannot. I don't know anybody who would stick by that and say, yeah, Brock Nelson's been the best player on this team. Not the best forward, not the best skater, not the best player, not even the best player who suits up. I mean, Sorokin's been the best player on this team by a freaking country mile. I know that Shesterkin was selected immediately for the Rangers, but Sorokin's numbers are better. He's faced more high danger opportunities coming his way. I don't know. Grumpy.
Sorokin will be picked later. They're not just going to have 32 players at the game. So, right? Isn't that what it is? 32 players, or is that
the fan vote is only a certain amount of players get put in through the fan vote. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's not like, oh, gotcha. I don't see the Islanders getting 2 or 3 guys in from their roster.
But I think they picked 1 goalie from every division, right? Isn't that
how the initial?
with the
maybe,
initial
sure.
selection, right? So it's like, okay, so Olmark went for the Atlantic Division. So Vasilevsky didn't make it, right? Olmark made it. Shesterkin make it. Oh, well, you know what? Shesterkin was really good last year, so let's put him in there. I mean, it's such nonsense. It doesn't even matter. It means nothing.
Yeah, and I'll tell
I'd
you.
rather talk about the failed policies of the general manager, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, Grumpy, those are more broad topic items. Let's talk about what's going on now, right? We talked about, I wanted to mention, as much as I said, hey, I think other players maybe were more deserving. Congratulations to Brock Nelson on making his first All-Star game.
Yeah.
It's an accomplishment for certain. It is. I think that he's played well for many years under the Islanders. I like what I've seen from him. I've liked what I've seen on the ice from him. I really have this year. I think as of recent, him as well as many others have been struggling a little bit. I hope it's not a harbinger for the way that things look in the second half of the year. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the halfway point, Grumpy. I know I mentioned this at the top of the hour. Islanders, 46 points so far through the first 41 games in a year, on pace for 92 points in the season, Grumpy. That's just like we had thought, either the last spot into the postseason or right on the outside looking in. What are your thoughts as of this point? What are your thoughts as of, will the Islanders make the postseason? Let me be specific about that before you go to talk, grandiose what the general manager should do.
I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. I think you have to have at least 100 points to make the playoffs, particularly in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I think Washington's kind of passed us by. The Rangers have passed us by. The Devils have seemed to have kind of righted the ship a little bit. Carolina, I think Pittsburgh, I think they have 3 games in hand on us. They're 2 points back. I don't think there's any way that Crosby's missing the playoffs, unless, here's the thing, injuries still play a big part in this. And then you have, Toronto, Boston, and Tampa Bay. They will make the playoffs. Can either Florida or Buffalo make a push? Buffalo, I'm telling you, Buffalo's a team, if they had a goaltender, they'd be a real, no, I'm not saying a contender to win the cup, but certainly somebody who say, okay, they're a real threat to make the playoffs.
Well, with Buffalo, mind you, and this is the same thing I was thinking too. Buffalo right now is playing the Minnesota Wild tonight. They're up 4-3. And it's about going into the second intermission. So the third period, they're going to go in with a 1-goal lead. The Buffalo Sabres have played 36 games this year so far. Today is their 37th. They have 40 points on the season. If they win tonight, they're going to have 4 games in hand, and they're going to be 4 points behind us. We talk about, the reason I'm bringing it up, a lot of these teams that have games in hand are really close to us. Unbelievably close to us. We talked about how miserable the Buffalo Sabres were for a stretch. They're a very big up. They're a young team. The highs are really high and the lows are really low. I mean, the Florida Panthers, I was shit talking them. Paul Maurice, there's no way they're going to make the postseason under Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice is a miserable coach. He's just gave up and quit. They should have fired him yesterday. They're 40 games into their season with 40 points. They're only 6 points behind us with a game in hand on us. Their teams are really close, is more of the point I'm making.
And some of these teams that were really good last year, like Florida, you would expect them to be better in the second half of the season. They had a lot of, Kachuk came in, they lost Huberdeau, they lost Uyghur, so they had a lot of player change and a new coach. Sometimes it takes a little bit before everybody gets on the same page. You mentioned Buffalo. If they had another veteran defenseman and a goaltender, I think Buffalo would absolutely make the playoffs.
And think about it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And you just see how they've developed that young core all coming up together at the same time. Adams has done a good job as general manager. Ever since they moved Eichel, they've all been in the same direction. And all of a sudden, wow, within a year, Tage Thompson just taking off. I mean,
fantastic player.
I mean, he's just taken off. And you're seeing that whole team come up together, the young defense core. They need the goaltender desperately. And I think they need a veteran defenseman. But offensively, they're a really tough team to beat. Again, team speed, youth.
This is, and before we got too off topic, and Grumpy, I apologize about yelling at you earlier, but you're driving me nuts, Grumpy, the way I do to you sometimes and the way you do to me sometimes. But Andy had posted this because I didn't want to get, I wanted to make a point where I was talking about why I was listening to all these opposing teams telecast. And Andy mentioned this, and I remember hearing this too. He said on the Flames telecast yesterday, he said, the Islanders were abysmal that period. There's no contesting the Flames forward by the Islanders defense. Tough to grade the Flames because of just how sleepy those Islanders are. And he says, how's the Islanders broadcast framing this one? And they're right. I mean, like, it's refreshing to hear the other team who doesn't feel like they've got to walk on eggshells talk about the actual performance that they see on the ice.
Well, I will say the Islanders because I did not watch the Calgary feed last night. Just watching the Islander feed, Butch was absolutely talking about, the gap control. And that was something they talked about all the time under Barry Trotz, all the time. Really haven't talked about it too much this year. You've seen it the last couple of games because it's been just so obvious that they've had to start talking about it. But I think that was a talking point from Barry Trotz, when the Islanders would talk to the announcers before the game. Hey, what do you want to stress? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure Barry was always saying, watch our gap control when, the offensive defensive transition. I guarantee you he hammered that point home to Butch and Brendan last year. And maybe Lane Lambert doesn't do that, but it's so obvious that it's been poor that now they feel they have to mention it. And they did. In their defense last night, they absolutely did.
So, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kind of take us off the conversation that we were on, but I wanted to say that still as I remembered it. But now you said you had the epiphany, you mentioned earlier, you had the epiphany, Islanders are not making the postseason this year. Talk a little more about what makes you think that, Crump.
I just don't think we're talented enough. It just comes down to that. I mean, yeah, we're plucky, we don't quit, but we're just not good enough. We just don't have enough talent. If we need a big goal to be scored, who's going to score it? Does it seem like we even create a whole lot of high danger chances?
A lot of our goals are almost broken plays that are gutsy and effort goals. They're not like goals. And I mean, like Parise had a beautiful goal. Maybe you could have made the argument, hey, the goalie should have saved that. It was high glove side above the shoulder, but that was a snipe. And I think to myself, I'm like, we don't see, and Brock Nelson has those moments where it's like, ooh, that's a snipe. Matt Barzal's had a few of those moments recently where it's just a snipe. And, I tell you, it's not like I have a guy where it's like, oh, we've got a Vladimir Tarasenko. This is a guy that we rely upon with beautiful goals that he's going to be able to pick any spot he needs and is really going to put up 40 goals a season. We don't have guys like that.
No, we don't. And until you bring some of those guys in the organization, it's going to be the same old, same old. And it's what I've been asking for years, and they just don't do it. And then you wonder why it just falls off the rails. And like I said, you've just seen our decline. It's just kind of just a steady decline. I mean, it is what it is. Need to refresh the team. Like I said, right now we're in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what our records are against playoff teams. And, you mentioned earlier about, the scrappy goals, the dirty goals. It's easier to score those goals against lesser teams where they kind of fall apart in their own zone. What we're finding out now, you're starting to play some better teams, and we're not scoring those goals anymore because they're better. They're more talented. I mean, it's just frustrating to watch. Last year was last year. But this year, if anything, it's more disappointing, and not necessarily from the players, but from the general manager. He should have known better. He should have known that we needed to refresh this roster, and he just did nothing to help in that regard.
I think what it would require to refresh, and again, I don't think it's a refresh of the full roster. I think it's a refresh of the forward group only. I feel like defensively, even though we've hemorrhaged chances this year, I fully believe the shambolic defense that we've seen is all to do on the fact that our style has changed and it requires our defense to be more offensive minded because our forwards just aren't good enough. They don't foot the bill. We've seen what this defensive core can do when you play with a structured system, a structured mentality. When you ask the defenseman to say, we want you to play structured, but I need you to get up the ice and I need you to put pressure on the forecheck, they're going to go ahead and lose some of that defensive responsibility and you're going to hemorrhage some chances coming the other way. But we know what the defense can be. We know our goaltending's fantastic. If we had a more competent and more skilled forward group, we wouldn't have to require and ask as much from our defense so they could do their actual job of defending and being in position. I mean, I'm not sure Romanoff will ever be in the right position just because I think that's something he struggles with, whether we were playing this system or, the most defensive defenseman system known to mankind. I mean, like there's certain players that are going to struggle positionally, but I think if we had more skilled forwards, we could have our defense more focused on the job of defending and being positionally aware.
Yes. I agree. Okay, Pelech being out has thrown the defense off a little bit. I mean, I don't think that's the reason why we're losing, but you're seeing like yesterday, Parker Witherspoon kind of got exposed a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought he had a tough game. Like I said, he's serviceable, but he's not somebody that you want to roll out there, 80 games a year, or Sebastian Aho. These are not guys. They are optimally number 7 D men. Okay.
Yeah.
But moving forward, Mayfield, right? Figure he'll be gone, right? Is Bolduc ready to step up? Is Salo ready to step up? That's what we need to move forward. This year, I think our defense is okay, even with the Pelech injury, but it's our lack of scoring. I mean, there was interesting number that Lighthouse Hockey mentioned today, that when the Islanders score 3 goals, they're 21-5-1. When they don't, they're 1-12-1.
Wow.
I mean, that's quite an indictment, right?
That's a complete change from how things were, I'd say, at least regarding low-scoring affairs like they were under Trotz.
Yes. We'd win a lot of those games now. But why is that, right? Because we're playing more of a wide-open system, trying to generate more offense, and it leads to chances the other way. And I think Sorokin's been sensational this year. I mean, but you know what? It's like 1 goal here, 1 goal there. If you can't score, we're not winning because there's more high-danger chances coming against us. 1 goal sometimes is enough to beat us.
I tell you, I had no idea the stat was that crazy. Now, I want to bring up another stat to you since we're throwing some stats around.
Well, can you put the standings up again?
Yeah.
I just take a look at the home and away records of playoff teams. I mean, I think they really there's certain stats that, and I followed just the last couple of years where I'm like looking at it and I'm like, look at the teams that make the playoffs, right? Positive goal differential. That's number 1. And then look at the road records.
So yeah,
Austin, 11-4-1. Carolina, 13-4-6. Toronto, 10-6-3. The Devils, 14-2-1. Rangers, 13-5-3.
Hold on 1 second. The Devils are 14-2-1 on the road, but 11-10-2 at home.
What does it tell you?
How the hell does that happen?
They probably play a more defensively structured game on the road, and they're a little bit wanting to entertain the fans at home. That's the way that usually happens. That's what beat them the other night. They were dominating. I forget even who they were playing, but they were carrying the play in the offensive zone. All of a sudden, bang, puck comes down the other end, goal. They wound up losing that game. I mean, but really solid on the road. Tampa, 9-9. Okay, Tampa gets a pass from me just because they're Tampa, right? 3 straight years in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, you can't count out those guys.
Even Washington, as bad as they've been to start the year, 10-8-3. Then you look at us, 10-11-2. Look at Pittsburgh, right? Marginal playoff team, 500 on the road. Buffalo, another young team, right? Young team on the road. Okay, coach is saying to them, you know what, guys? Let's simplify our game on the road, right? You hear the announcers talk about it all the time. Let's simplify our game, get it in, get it out. Let's do that. And then their skill takes over. Average at home. You figure in the second half of the year, that's probably going to pick up for them. Florida, right? How bad have they been this year? I've been talking about all year. 8-12-1 on the road. Look at everybody else. 500 or below on the road.
Yeah. And most teams struggle on the road and are better at home. It's just kind of how that works. But the Islanders, right? Let's put a little bit of a positive twist on it. We've only played 18 of our 41 games at home. right? Meaning that we're going to have more home games in the last 41 games than we have on the road. The competition will be tougher, but we're going to be playing more of those teams at home. We're going to have home ice advantage on those teams.
Yep.
So, maybe that's going to bode well for us as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we got to hope for, right? What else are you going to do? I mean, it just kind of is what it is. It's like a 5-game difference, but it's like, you're right. We're going to play much more difficult schedule. We're kind of running out of the Philadelphias and the Columbuses, and the Columbia's. Columbus is in our schedule.
Yeah.
We still got Ottawa, but you're seeing Ottawa's starting to play better. I'm not saying Ottawa's great, but I mean, I know we have another game against Ottawa.
It's really going to be as to what is more important, home ice advantage or the tougher schedule? What's going to impact us more? Because again, we've discussed this. We'll go over briefly because I feel like we talk about it every damn show. It feels about strength of schedule. The Islanders have had one of the easier strength of schedules this season, right? You're looking at it, strength of schedule, 30th toughest strength of schedule. So, only 2 teams have had an easier strength of schedule than us in the first half of the year. We've talked about it. We have the 3rd toughest strength of schedule the remainder of the season. So, it's you don't like to see that, especially for an older team. Now, we have had some injuries. I kind of want to transition that. Did you happen to see the Kevin Kurtz article today, Grumpy?
I did not.
Okay. Or I'm sorry, actually after last night's game, now we have the 2nd toughest strength of schedule remaining. So just want to give you that update, the most up-to-date information, Grump. But when we're looking here, I guess that's because the Rangers lost today to the Devils. Maybe that's what moved them down one. But yeah, we've got the second toughest strength of schedule, the remaining 41 games. You don't like to see that.
Yeah, at least we only have Carolina twice and Boston twice. That's good news for us.
Toronto twice, Winnipeg twice, Vegas again still, the Devils again. So, I mean, it's a tough schedule. You look at the crummy teams. We do have the Montreal Canadiens. So, right, talking about trading players, hopefully we don't get rid of Anthony Beauvillier before we start playing those Montreal Canadiens because he's good for about 10 points in those 3 games.
And I think we have Montreal coming up in short order.
Yes.
I would expect those to be – if we start losing to teams like Montreal, we're in real trouble.
We've squandered away points all season long. Yeah. And like in that Kevin Kurtz's article, that's what I was about to say. They talk about, right, how we squandered points against Arizona twice, Nashville twice. We lost both games against Florida. We lost against Detroit. We lost some games against, Philly. Those teams are catching up to us in the standings. And now this article that Kevin Kurtz put out, he linked a tweet in here. And I know, Grumpy, you are not a fan of analytics. I know. And this is going to look like a whole bunch of gobbledygook for people like you and I. But this particular site here, this particular Twitter handle, broke down the amount of that MGL stands for man games lost to injury. So the total amount of games that players missed that were supposed to be in your starting lineup due to injury. You see Washington has missed, total games missed by their starting core is highest in the NHL, 271 games.
And they still are on, at the midway point, are on pace for a 100-point season.
Yes, and you see that CHIP where it's got the cap hit. It stands for cap hit of the injured players. So the average cap hit, so 14.53 million average cap hit amongst those players. Or I'm sorry, maybe it's not average, but that's the cap hit miss so far for the season. So as you scroll down, you see here, right, more expensive players missed from Washington. Philly's missing some big guys off the team. So is Columbus this year. Well, you keep scrolling your way down, and you'll see Carolina's up there because Pacioretty has missed the entirety pretty much of the season. But you see here the Islanders, right? We're talking about the Islanders. Oh, we've got so many injuries. The Islanders have so many injuries so far. Oh, hold on a second. We've only had 67 games missed from the starting lineup. Some teams, right? We talk about, you're hearing it across the Islanders social media, not on Islanders social media, but you're hearing it amongst social media from Islander fans. Well, we're just really banged up. We're injured right now. And that's why we're struggling. We've got a lot of players out with injury, and once they get healthy, we'll be fine. We've only lost 67 games from starters this year.
And a lot of them is Adam Pelech, right? He's missed quite a few.
3 million. About
Right.
3 million of that cap is missed over that time frame.
I don't know if Varlamov is counted in there or not. It shouldn't be. So maybe that's also probably not part of it. I mean, I think this is actually sorted by dollar amount as opposed to actual games.
Oh, it's yes, it's sorted by dollar amount, but you look at the games too. Well,
Yeah.
because they're saying we're missing a lot of players. Remember early on in the season, I said we are very fortunate right now. We are completely healthy. I said we're losing to teams when they're missing 4 or 5 guys out of their starting lineup, but we don't have a single injury.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
yeah, we're starting to get some injuries now, and it's
I,
the law of averages. We had none at the beginning. We're going to get maybe some more towards the tail end. A lot of teams have had a lot more players and time missed by starters with injury than we have. Still,
yeah, I just wish we could see the actual games lost by the teams, sorted by games lost. Because I see some teams below the Islanders who many more games: Arizona, San Jose, Buffalo, Tampa, Los Angeles tied Minnesota. I mean, look at Dallas. Anybody want to know why Dallas is so good this year? 14 games missed.
no injuries.
No
No
injuries.
injuries. And Dallas is a well put together team, but when you're completely healthy, you've got to be cleaning up. You really do. I mean, like you look at it too, right? The Rangers, not again, like you don't ever wish injury or ill will to any of these teams, but the Rangers have been a very healthy team this year. Calgary's been a very healthy team. A lot of these teams that have been successful have been very healthy teams, and the Islanders have been very healthy, relatively speaking. Only 67 games missed due to injury, total games missed due to injured starters.
And look at Boston, right? 64 games missed.
We're right on par with Boston.
I
Right?
mean,
But they're not talking about like Detroit. They're not saying, "Oh, we've had 209 games missed by our starters this year with the Jakob Vrana and all the other things that have happened." The Florida Panthers have had 115 games missed. Toronto 165 games missed from starters. And you keep going up. Colorado 218 games.
and they big time guys.
McKinnon,
Just like
Landeskog. The list goes on.
right. And Washington, of course, Backstrom, Wilson, Orlov was out. Oshie was out.
For the age of Alexander Ovechkin, I think this may be his most impressive regular season we've seen from him.
Well, he's a
what
man
he's
on
done. Yeah, he's a man on a mission, is right.
Yeah, he wants that goal record, period.
Yeah.
He's got a Stanley Cup. He wants the goal record.
But we talk sometimes critically of how the cartel media does certain things. I want to give a round of applause, a little clap, a golf clap, a gentleman's clap there to Kevin Kurtz. We're saying the silent part out loud. We're saying what we're actually seeing, what we're thinking about as fans are crying from the rooftop of, we're injured. That's why we're not playing well. We've only missed 67 games from starters, 67 games missed by starters due to injury. Those are guys, right? We talk about the guys who have missed. Third line, Kyle Palmieri.
Big deal.
Guys like backup goalie, Simeon Varlamov. Guys like fourth liner, Cal Clutterbuck. Those are the type of guys that we're missing out with injury. And we're missing Pelech, right? We've missed Pelech. He's a big portion. He's a big loss.
Yeah, to me, Pelech is the one. Everybody else, all right, so you're missing a bottom sixer. So what? Bottom four guy, bottom pairing guys. So what? No loss there. I mean, when you think about it, talent for talent. I mean, thank goodness, Matt. I believe Barzal will be back Tuesday, like I said. But I mean, if we lost him for any time, it'd be devastating to us. Just devastating.
Well, I did put out a very scientific poll, but I put it up a little late. So I probably should have put this up earlier. So, it definitely can change. I wanted to gather the feeling of some of the
poll. Does the poll say, does anyone think I'm being too mean to the grumpy old man?
I was being too mean. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I'm sorry, Grumpy. But when we're looking at this poll, this is, it's very scientific. We don't have all the numbers we needed to have in just quite yet. But I wanted to ask the question of, right, do you think the Islanders will make the playoffs? They're on pace for 92 points this season. Are we making the playoffs? I just posted it like an hour ago, but we've got 48 votes, Grumpy. You can see as of right now, it's about a 37 to 63 split right there. 63% in favor of no, we will not make the postseason. About a little over like 37 will say yes, we can make the postseason.
I think that's a very good percentage, by the way. Like a 63% chance of making it, 37 against. I think that's pretty accurate. Not just, for the people who voted, but I'm just saying, if you said today, what percentage do you think the Islanders make the playoffs? I thought the 37 is probably a good amount. 37% yes, 63% no.
Yeah. So, we'll be I'll be giving you the update, Grumpy, once the poll finally ends in 22 hours. But yeah, we're in a spot to where Islanders struggling, over the last few games. Schedule gets a little harder. We're going to have more home games though. So I think we talk about what do we think the storyline is going to be over the next 41 games. I think a few things are going to be important. With a tougher schedule, do we continue to have a lot more success at home compared to on the road? Are we still going to have that same success at home that we had over the first 41 games? We only played 18 at home. Should we expect the same success? We'll have a few extra games at home compared to on the road. Can we make that count? That's going to be important. And another item too is with the injuries and with players, and swapping around of, movement of players here on the team, what will Lou Lamoriello do at the deadline? That is the most important topic of conversation, not only for Islander fans this year, but for the next 5 years, as to what will Lou Lamoriello do with this team at the deadline. This is a huge bypass and a huge portion or a huge moment in the franchise, the direction of the franchise for the next decade, perhaps.
See, that was my biggest thing. Is like, when will Lou Lamoriello make the determination to be buyers or sellers in the market? I think you have to be one or the other this year, though. You can't just stand pat like they did last year, which I thought was foolish. But they can't do it this year. They just can't. You're either buyers or you're sellers. I mean, do you think, okay, we're 2 points in the final playoff spot, we're 4 points out of the final playoff spot? You have to be realistic and just say, okay, can we make a legitimate run this year, or do we want to go on to the next phase? I think that's the most important thing this second half of the year shows. Is Lou Lamoriello senile and doubles down on this old roster, or does he, hey, you know what? I know I wanted to give these guys another shot. It's not going to happen. Let's move on to the next phase. I think that's the biggest, most important thing that's going to happen in the next, month and a half?
Oof. I'm worried about that. We were the only team last year
no moves
not to buy or to sell at the deadline. The only team not to make a single move. I don't foresee us doing that this year, and unfortunately, I think we're adding pieces. As to how many pieces we're adding and what the price tag is on these pieces, I think that's where we might go freaking pale white as a fan and as a fan base. We'll know, right? I think it will be the most epileptic attack I'll have since that Romanov trade. That will be the most
apoplectic. Maybe.
Apoplectic, thank you. Most apoplectic attack I'll have since that Romanov trade, because I have a feeling, as I predicted and talked about over a year and a half ago, before last year's trade deadline, that we're giving up picks in that 2022 draft and this 2023 draft to double down on a team that does not have enough to win a cup. And the question I asked was, do you think this team is good enough to make the postseason? I didn't ask, do you think this team is good enough to win a Stanley Cup? Right? The goal is not to say, hey, we made it to the postseason, guys. Okay, now let's get ready to golf. You don't get anything for freaking, hey, we got bounced in the first round of the playoffs because our team isn't good enough to compete for a cup.
Not with a team whose average age of the forward group is over 30. I mean, that can't be the goal, just to make the playoffs. It can't be. People, Sorokin gets hot, we can go on a roll. Have we really? I mean, he's been sensational this year.
He's been hot all year.
Do you think we could get on a roll and beat a Carolina team? Or Boston? I just don't see it. I could honestly, if we played Carolina, maybe we'd win one game. Maybe.
Look at that home and road record. We were a lot worse on the road so far through the first half of the year than we are at home. When you're going to be the 8th seed in the postseason, you're going to be playing more games on the road than you are at home. Just talking about the law of averages, you're going to be in a real tough spot then.
Against good teams.
Yes.
Against the top echelon of the league. What's Boston's home record? I think they've only lost 2 or 3 games the whole year at home.
I'll get it pulled back up here for us. Give me a second, Grump.
And I think a couple of them just came like in the last week or two. They were undefeated at home for the longest time.
Can you fix your cord, Grumpy, on that? Thank you. Perfect.
Looks fine.
Good gracious. I like how you say it looks fine. Let me pull this up here. It's loading for us. Now, a lot of teams always play better, usually at home than they do on the road. And now okay, here it is. Boston at home has not lost a regulation game all season long. They're 19-0-3 at home. Tough
to beat a team like that when they play. You're going to play 4 road games, undefeated at home.
Undefeated in regulation. They have lost overtime games, so 3-on-3 games and shootout games, but they have not lost a game in regulation at home all season long.
Tough to beat teams like that. They're solid.
That's the only team in the NHL that has not lost a home game in regulation.
Yeah.
Wow. I know they had played really well at home. I didn't know it was that well. Right? The Carolina Hurricanes, 12-4-1 at home.
Last year in the playoffs, right? Right. Last year, Carolina in the playoffs couldn't win a game on the road, but man, they won all of them at home.
Yeah. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, 13-3-4 at home. Right. So those top tier teams don't squander games at home too often.
Now, we beat Toronto early this year. Was it in Toronto or was it at home?
I think it was at us. It was at home. I'll have to pull it up there. I'll get it pulled up for you in a bit. Let's get to our. Oh, go ahead, Grump.
Yeah, I was going to say let's get to the ad read.
Yeah, let's get to our ad read, and we're going to start getting through some comments here. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pre-game money line on any NHL team to win their game and get 150 bets and $150 in free bets if they do. And if that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into even bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot and an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN and bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code THPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes in the description for additional details.
Oh, wonderful. Nice job.
There it is. I don't know how did I get a state of survival saying I was late? We were on time. But yeah, Drew's even saying, wait, I thought TJ was early. Doesn't it start at 8 p.m.?
I thought it was right on time at 8 today.
We started 2 minutes early, but that was fine.
Okay.
Why should I be surprised that TJ hasn't been on time? That TJ hasn't been on time for one podcast yet, though. Oh, goodness. State of Survival says, we've got a lot of injuries, but I like the way the rookies are holding up.
Right. That's what you want, right? Who can be part of the solution going forward?
One of the sad things I think about regarding, we're talking about if we do start to make a transition to kind of get a new face, because we've talked about this on last podcast. We don't even know who the general manager is going to be of this organization next year.
No, we don't want to talk about that, do we?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just making quick overviews here because I don't want to bring you down the rabbit hole, because it's like releasing the Tasmanian devil in the freaking in a pig pen over there. You're just going to start tearing everything up, or a chicken coop. When we're looking here at the Islanders, right? Don't even know who possibly the general manager is going to be this next year. If you don't like the postseason, I doubt they bring back Lou Lamoriello. I don't think they should bring him back under any circumstance to begin with. But if you have a new general manager, you're going to have a new vision and new direction of the team. You're not going to have somebody who comes in day one and says, oh, yeah, what that guy did before me that got fired or didn't get renewed his contract, I want to do exactly that. You're going to have a difference of what we do. And the reason I brought up what's kind of sad, people talk about, oh, well, maybe we can trade this player because he's got value and that player's got value. We are overvaluing our players and our prospects and their trade value. And I think we're going to be sadly disappointed when we find out what the actual value of those players are if we do have a regime change. if we're trying to jettison off some of these guys. Anthony Beauvillier doesn't have value. People talk about Anthony Beauvillier like he has value. He's a third-line winger. People talk about Josh Bailey. Oh, Josh Bailey has some value. What type of value does Josh Bailey have? What type of value does Kyle Pump? What type of value do these players actually have? The only players that have value are players that are on expiring deals at the deadline that you could say, here's a rental, pay real quick for a rental.
Not true. Not true. I think we have a couple other players who have value around the league. Brock Nelson being one, Pelech and Pulak. They're not getting rid of Pelech and Pulak.
Yeah.
But I think they would have value. I'm not talking about the guys on expiring deals. Other than that, Beauvillier, okay. I think he makes too much money now to have a whole lot of value. I don't think Anders Lee has any value around the league with that contract. Parise, he could probably get your third-round pick. I mean, I just think realistically, if you see things kind of going south, you have to explore all avenues to say, okay, we went back another year. We believed in this group. It didn't work out. Let's transition to the next phase.
Alon Avatel says, Lou must be fired.
He's not going to get fired, but he's showing his age now, and I don't mean mentally, physically. When I saw him, like, ooh, he's looking kind of old now all of a sudden. He's 80 years old. Enjoy the grandkids.
Oh, God. I will tell you this year, and Kevin Kurtz in our article also highlights the last 13 games, Grumpy. Do you know what our power play has been over the last 13 games, or do you want to take a guess? It's been bad, but I want you to guess of how bad it's been.
1 or 2 goals scored?
2 goals scored. So we're 2 of 36 attempts in our last 13 games.
Not good. Not good. Got wrong guys in the wrong positions. Bailey's on the power play. I mean, not putting Wahlstrom out there.
Well, he's been injured, but you're looking at about a 5.5% chance that you're scoring on power plays right now.
I think we give up more shorthanded goals than score power plays.
Or definitely more shorthanded opportunities over that last 13 game time period. But yeah, State of Survival says before that, somebody needs to take Faley, Faley off of the power play.
I like that. Faley. That's a good one. Thank you.
Drew Licata, Grumpy.
I think Lou should absolutely trade away. Oh, my God. Our first-round pick this year. He must be trolling us. Oh, wait. Sorry. I'm reading the wrong script. Lou should absolutely not trade away our first-round draft pick. Start the precious rebuild.
Yes. I don't even think it's a full rebuild. And I've said this before. I think it's a revamp of our forward group. I like our defensive core. I like our goalie. It's just a revamp of the forward group.
Okay. When you realize that the forwards are like, what, 60% of your team? And how many?
It's not every forward. Here's the thing. Okay, bottom 6 guys, I don't care. They're interchangeable. You learn in fashion. You can.
So there's 6. There's 6 you don't care about. What about 2 guys on the second line? I'll say
there's
Brock
2
Nelson, keep him. If you're not going to move him because of his value, which would be really valuable to somebody, Anders Lee and Beauvillier. Do you think that we can upgrade on those 2 guys?
No, I think we can. I'm just saying this, right? There's 3 guys who I'm happy with. I like Brock Nelson. I think he's a very, very talented center. Again, I don't think he's all-star worthy, but I think he's a talented center. I like Mat Barzal. I like Oliver Wahlstrom, even though people are starting to shit on him. The same exact people who shit on Mat Barzal earlier on this year, oh, we can't score a goal, he's such an incomplete player, are the same exact dumbasses that are shitting on Oliver Wahlstrom. Same people. They wear different hats. They're the same people like when Sorokin has 3 games, or if he goes on a 4-game losing streak, Sorokin's overrated. He's garbage. He's overrated. He's not that good of a goalie. They're the same people. And, I think Oliver Wahlstrom still has what it takes to be a successful forward, to be a successful NHLer. I do. No matter what, no matter what maybe hot and cold streaks look like. I think he was dealing with a nagging injury, but he's still been out, right? Kind of tells you it was quite severe. But yes, we should trade Lou, says JG.
He's got no value either.
Or just let him fade into the sunset. Michael Watts says, slow starts, inconsistency, injuries, lucky to be in a playoff spot at the moment.
Yeah. It's a long way to go till playoff season, though. Like I said, our schedule is going to be tougher the second half. That's going to be problematic for us.
I'm going to let you start reading some because you read a lot quicker than I do, Grumpy.
Good evening, gentlemen. Reality setting in for this team. Could not agree more, Matthew.
Absolutely, Matthew S. And look at this D-cut. Look at him. He's still keeping his profile picture of this. Pray for tomorrow. So he'll keep it like that forever, maybe. So I can't picture him. And once I see the picture of D-cut, I know who I need to avoid. I need to avoid all the comments he puts in. Ugh.
He says, fire lame. And where does D-cut, what Facebook group is he with, TJ? Do you remember?
I don't know. It's some
Isles Media. Isles Misery rated R. What the hell? You were talking about the media today. Isles Misery rated R, that fantastic Facebook group, the friends from the fantastic Facebook group known as Isles Misery rated R. Loyal supporters of the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, as well as the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. We couldn't do it without them.
Well, actually, D-Cut's Facebook group is called the Islanders Media Cartel. D-Cut is the head of the cabal over the Islanders Media Cartel, Grumpy, and that's why I've got to take that group down, Grumpy. Okay. Anyway, Paul O.C., Grump.
After today, I can say we definitely won't make the playoffs.
And I don't know. I never gave my opinion on where I think we are. I think we make the postseason. I do. I think we barely find a way in. I'm talking about barely find a way in. Because here's the thing. Lou Lamoriello will be selling away our future at this year's trade deadline to add pieces. I am under the perception of that. And if you aren't, you have not been paying attention and you're not awake. Our team will be improved at the deadline compared to what it is now. So we're going to be giving up our first round pick, probably our second, maybe even our third this year. The freaking window is closed, or it's about to close. He knows that too. He's not dumb. He's not a freaking steward of the team, which means he shouldn't be the general manager. But I'm under the perception we will make the postseason. We will add pieces to this deadline, unfortunately, and we will trade away the future and continue to kick the can down the road and trade away the future of this team. So we'll squeak in at number 8 and probably get bounced in the first round of the postseason. And we're going to be saying, oh no, we haven't had a first round pick in the last 5 years. No postseason success. Will S. Grumpy
with the Vancouver shirt.
Andrew L.
This one has Millennial Meltdown written all over it.
Millennial Meltdown! John McManaman Grump.
Good evening, boys. Last night, the Islanders had an AHL team play in Calgary. We should never crap all over Barzal. Removing him makes us an AHL team. Exactly. It was so obvious to me. I mean, we were just non-existent in the offensive zone yesterday. Nick C says, I'd trade Lou away for a first. Who would give you a first? I know it hurts us now, but the long-term effects will be overwhelming.
No. He's saying he would give up a first-round pick to trade away Lou Lamoriello.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's how much Nick thinks of Lou Lamoriello. He says, I'm willing to forego this year's first-round pick to make sure that sack of potatoes could never step behind the general manager office ever again.
Here's my worst-case scenario for the rest of the season and the offseason. Lamoriello trades away a first and a second, reloads for a team that doesn't make the playoffs, wins the draft lottery, gets nothing. Lou steps down or gets kicked upstairs, and Fredo is the new general manager. I could not think of a worse 6 months for the Islanders than that.
Say it again just so we understand. Say it one more time.
Okay. Lou Lamoriello trades away our first and second round picks, our first round pick, for some ham and egger who's not going to make a difference, and we don't make the playoffs.
We pick up a Foligno brother or somebody who doesn't make any impact, but we give up a first plus for him. Okay.
Could be anybody. And then we don't get in the playoffs. We're in the lottery. We win the lottery.
Wow. Okay.
Don't pick. Lou says, I'm just going to be team president, and he anoints Fredo as a general manager. That would be the worst 6 months ever in Islander history.
If that were to happen, we trade away the first round pick, we don't make the postseason, it wins the lottery. Everything with Lamoriello's name or footprint should be torn out of the history books from the Islanders and removed and thrown onto the highway. Get rid of it. Goodbye. Gone, Grumpy. Holy crap. What a bad scenario that would be. Oof. And just seeing Connor Bedard, we'd be like those. Our team could have won the Stanley Cup this year if we would have had Connor Bedard, if that idiot Lou Lamoriello didn't trade away that first-round pick. That's what it would be like. Let me ask you this, real quick. If that were to happen, that hypothetical, would that make his tenure as an Islanders general manager worse than Milbury's?
No.
Milbury was forced to do those things to try to make it a competitor by ownership.
Yeah, but Milbury was there a lot longer.
Lou Lamoriello has traded away Devon Taves. He would, in this scenario, also have lost out on Connor Bedard. We're just playing worse, just having a good time, just kind of shooting the shit.
Can I just say something? That Bedard kid's really good.
Dude, he's talented. Did you see him in the World Juniors?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, bona fide.
He's really
bona fide number one.
He's really good.
D-Cut with a weird comment today, Grumpy. I don't know what to think. We may be in the upside down or in a different universe right now.
Keep TJ, fire D-Cut.
This is weird. This is weird. All right. Frank K, Grumpy.
This team is flat out bad. There's no depth on this team. Great job, Lou. He has made Lane a lost puppy. He's going to make Lane the scapegoat. Talk about a scumbag GM setting up Lane to fail. Lou needs to be launched into Melmac. That's the Alf TV show reference.
I'm glad he put that in, Frank, for me, because I didn't know what that was. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I did know Melmac. And you want to know what Alf used to like to eat?
Like children or something, right?
No, it was still, family television at that time. Cats.
Oh,
they were a delicacy on his planet. Cats.
God. Oh my God. Freedom, fun, and adventure, Grumpy.
Grumpy likes to be called the Curve, but he could be called the Pack Mule because he has carried this show by himself for years. The Grumpy Curvy Pack Mule.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Grumpy has carried the show. Grumpy's the talent. There's no discerning that. There's no differential. There's no fighting that one off. Joseph C. Grumpy.
Both New York teams don't deserve the goalies they have. They are the main reason the Islanders and the Rangers are competitive. Igor,
yeah,
was amazing today, but way too many high danger chances. And the Devils came back from 3-1 down and won that game in overtime.
D-Cut says, I'm impressed, TJ. I was on time. Yeah! Woohoo! John McMahon and Grumpy.
What the heck would happen if Sorokin went down? The Isles would be relegated to the ECHL. See, that was, to me, like I said, John mentioned these comments, and I hope Ian's doing well. Hope he had a happy new year. Without Mat Barzal, we are an AHL team offensively. We are. And if Sorokin wasn't there, you saw it last night. We weren't even competitive. Against Calgary, he was just like, they're a meh team. They're like another middle-of-the-pack team, just like us. Meh.
Yeah, I was about to say, Calgary on the West Coast, or in the Western Conference, is right in the middle of the pack, like 7 or 8. They're not like, hey, we're the best. We're the Winnipeg Jets. We're the best team in and the West sucks. The West sucks compared to as I'm saying that, we go 1-3 again in the West, on our West Coast trip. But the West is not as good as the East.
No, not even close. Not the top anyway.
JG says
TJ is looking for a high five and an ass slap for being on time.
Nick C says, I no longer need to see the Wotherspoon experiment. We need Pellick back ASAP. Well, he's not even skating yet still.
I don't want to say he's going to be out the rest of the year, but man, it sure has that feel to it, doesn't it?
It does have that feeling where it's, remember, and again, this is not an apples to apples comparison. This is not an apples to apples comparison, ladies and gentlemen. Do you remember when Crosby had the neck injury that gave him those concussion-like symptoms and prevented him from playing for a long, long time? He played for, he tried to come back. He played 2 or 3 games, and he had to miss a stretch of like 20 or 30 games in a row. Remember, he had that neck injury that was giving him a problem. I cannot recall the last time I've seen a player miss almost over a month and a half with a concussion. I have to think it's something more severe, or that concussion is just still rocking his world. I'm worried. I'm starting to worry, but he's not skating. I'm starting to worry a bit.
Yeah. I mean, and if it gets to be a certain point in the season where, particularly if we kind of fall out of the playoff race or whatever, do you really want to risk it, or just say, you know what, buddy, you're part of the long-term future of the team. Let's just maybe a game or two at the end, but we're not taking any chances, right? That's not what you do.
That's what I would do. Now, I will mention this as well. It's not going to be like as soon as he could start skating again, he's ready to be thrown into the lineup. He's had when you're having a concussion like that. Grumpy, you're gonna have to shake that grape drink a little more. That bottom one had some clumpies down there in it. But
what the hell are you talking about?
Oh, maybe my eyesight's going wrong. When you're in a spot to where you're not having that activity level. If you've got a concussion, you're not skating, you're not exercising. You're not running any miles. You're not weightlifting. If you can't get out there and skate, you're not doing any sort of physical activity. So imagine like Adam Pelech sitting on the couch for a month and a half saying, hey, we need you to get back up into game shape and be ready to go. It is not going to be an easy transition and smooth transition when he could start getting back in the swing of things. I worry for Adam Pelech. I hope his health is progressing. I'm worried about him.
Yeah. We're not hearing anything positive about him, which is concerning to me.
Grumpy had to hit the juice. He had to hit the little charger.
Hit the juice. Hit the juice.
Matthew S. Grumpy.
Honestly, is currently constituted. I think we missed the playoffs.
That's constructed. Yeah, absolutely. And Thomas Rudy, Grumpy.
It's like we traded wins under Trotz for goals for Barzal. I'll take the wins. We weren't good last year with Trotz. I think Trotz, his thing, players don't want to play that style of play. Certainly not players who have contract years coming up or want to make some money playing in the league. And we're an older team. It's a tough to play that style. Yes, we were good under Barry Trotz in the two, shortened seasons. But for guys, the majority of the group in their 30s playing on the full 82 and then playoffs, it's just not conducive to long-term success.
And yes, State of Survivor, all power play is terrible. Matthew, yep, awful road trip. That's to say the least. John McMahon and Grumpy.
Way too many spares, third and fourth line players playing second and first line minutes. True. And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? The general manager. No one but the general manager. Because every year we keep on trading away first round picks, second round picks to try to bring in some ham and egger from the damn Devils and say, this is the guy who's going to put us over the top. He's going to put us as in the second loser bracket, coming in losing in the semifinals. It doesn't matter.
Got a comment. G-Cut says, Lame has lost the team. No intensity on a trip. He has to go. It's a little early to be saying that for me. You got a little bit of a leash. We talked about this. This is a first-time head coach. Yeah, is he familiar with the team? That's going to help. But he's a guy who has no head coaching experience. There's going to be times where he struggles. We said that was the expectation. Not everything he does is going to be fantastic and perfect. In his first year, he will be less talented of a head coach than Barry Trotz is, but hopefully he's better with player relations to where he gets more production from the players.
One thing that disturbed me a little bit yesterday and late against Edmonton is you look at the bench and the players look dead. They look like it's like, I don't want to say they quit.
It's almost like they've seen this before.
Or they just look defeated on the bench. And you got Captain Average. To me, that's when you need to, hey, let's get it up, guys. Let's pick it up, guys. He was leading the damn Sourpuss Patrol on the damn bench.
The Sourpuss Patrol. It's like somebody killed their dog. It's just like somber, quiet,
tough.
No energy, no heart.
It's tough. Maybe they're coming to the realization that their time is over. Possible. You just I hate to see the bench. No one's talking. Heads are all down. You're getting shit canned by a mediocre Calgary team or an Edmonton team that has been hemorrhaging goals and leads. They blew 3 straight games. They lost 2-goal leads in the third period and lost those games. 3 straight.
Remember, we beat Calgary earlier on this season at home. We were down 3-1 entering the third period and won 4-3 in overtime on one of those late game heroics that happened earlier on that year. We talked about the sustainability on.
Edmonton, where Sorokin stopped 49 shots, and I think we beat them 3-0 or 4-0, something like that.
Will S says, was at the Seattle and Vancouver games. Boy, am I glad I didn't waste my time heading to Alberta.
Oof. Yeah, man, that's tough. And particularly when you only get to see, a little bit differently for people like Will and us. We don't get to see a whole lot of Islander games live. And when they lay an egg, it's like, ooh, geez, spend a lot of money to watch that.
I spent a lot of time traveling, a lot of money, creating my entire weekend, a few days to make sure I can see the team disappoint me. Yeah, so it stings a little more. Nick C says, how much of our troubles do you put on Lambert compared to Lou? Me personally, I think Lambert's doing an okay job with the players he's been giving him. I think it's more of a Lou problem than a Lambert problem. I don't think Lambert's the greatest head coach to ever coach. I think he's for today's system of hockey, he coaches that brand and that new modern style. But our forward group is, just as I talked about earlier, so diminished. It's so inept for what we needed to do. It requires our defensemen to be more aggressive to hemorrhage chances coming back our way. I put it more on Lou.
90% Lou, 10% Lambert.
There it is. That's an easy way to do it. Rick C. Grumpy.
Team needs to be imploded. Lou has to go. We need fast young blood. Yep. And, well, like I said, if they would have listened to me 2 years ago and done a gradual transition, we'd be ready to cook with grease next year, but it's going to be a longer slog now.
JG says
why did we sit Ratu for Johnson against Calgary?
We didn't. Ratu played, but maybe he didn't play shifts at the end of the game. I'm not sure. Ratu dressed. Barzal was the one who sat out with an injury. D-Cut says Dobson has regressed. He's good for giving up a shorthanded breakaway a game. Kid needs some tough love.
I think he has stepped back the last 10, 15 games or so. I think it's the fact that, they changed the partners up. I think his biggest issue is when he's back there and doesn't have a solid partner that he could trust, and he never has, he feels like he has to do too much and he gets exposed. One thing I'm going to say, D-Cut, and I am absolutely going to target you on this because people don't see the fantastic things he does against Edmonton and Vancouver. He totally laid out and stopped a couple of point blank chances, and they don't get, trumpeted up because he's not a defense guy.
They don't give him the credit he deserves on those type.
That's right. He does a lot of things. He's just so smooth. He's not, all right, I'm going to crash guys into the boards or, I'm going to chop a guy down. That's not what he does. That's not, and you might want him to be more physical. He's not. And with his easy skating style, it looks like he's loafing, but he's really not. His issue is Romanov's always out of position. Always.
Romanov sucks. He's one of the worst defensemen on this team. No, I'm sorry. Right? He's played over 200 games in the league. You should start to see him being more positionally aware, Grumpy. That second goal against Calgary, he sees his guy that he's supposed to mark. Hold on, what happened in the game? But he's seen his guy that's supposed to come and that he's supposed to mark just skates right through the middle of the crease, right to his zone, and he's late getting there. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What, you're not paying attention to who you need to mark? He's skating right there. You're looking right at him. I'm just like, I cannot get over how bad he is regarding his positioning. It's awful, right? Romanov can skate well, but has zero positioning. Chara had great positioning, but couldn't skate. You're right. When will he ever get a consistent partner that he can work with? It would be nice.
Add them two together and slice them in half. You have two good defensemen.
JG says, I should say, why are we going to sit Ratu for Johnson? I don't think we're going to. Matthew S. Grumpy.
Lou needs to be gone after this season. 100% agree. I'm just petrified that they believe so much in Lamoriello that they say, okay, you can name your replacement. That should not be the case.
We got a lot
as an ownership group, would you not agree, TJ, that you need to interview a whole bunch of candidates and pick the one who has the best plan? I mean, what do you think Fredo's plan is going to be? Hey, make sure I come over to mom and dad's for a nice linguine dinner on Sundays. I mean, what's his plan going to be for team? Oh, just whatever dad said.
I really don't think I can't even entertain the possibility of him being the general manager. I hear that all the time. I think that's us trying to just take it down to what's the worst case possible scenario, and we go down that hole. Again, as I mentioned, if he's the general manager, I'm not sure this show is going to exist anymore. Who knows? Could you imagine more in that? Grump, if he's the general manager, we thought we've seen dark times before. Holy shit. Going from one Lamoriello to the other, because Lou is still going to call the shots. Maybe he'll bring Lou on as a what do they call him? A hockey advisor. He'll bring him as a special advisor or some bullshit like that. I'm telling you, we'll see more of trading away picks, more forgetting about the future of this team. Yeah, no, I can't imagine. I seriously cannot imagine. That would be one of the worst things to happen to this franchise.
Captain Lou never says anything positive about anyone. But
Except
man, he starts talking about his kid. Man, he's a fantastic general manager. He's like I'm stunned he hasn't gotten a job. The only reason he got a job is because of you, Daddy. Papa
if he was so great, people would be pounding down his door, giving him assistant GM jobs or giving him a general manager job in the NHL, not saying, hey, you're sticking here in the A. Frank K. Grumpy.
As long as Malkin is the owner, we will remain a joke. He's a pussycat who won't even entertain firing Lou, whom should have been gone 3 years ago after the 2020 deadline, as they fell into 9th place.
And he says, Brock is playing hurt. Freedom, fun, and adventure, Grumpy.
JG, because Edmonton is a very big and physical team that would have run the intimidation game on the Islanders without Ross. Too many Islanders submit when pushed.
Nick C. Grumpy.
Regardless if we make the playoffs or not, I just want to have meaningful games at the end of the season. Last year was miserable. I don't want that again. Actually, you can have miserable games rooting for your team to lose to get a higher draft pick.
Or you mean meaningful games? You said miserable.
Those are meaningful. The more you lose, the better your draft pick.
Yeah, you just admit. Oh, well, I guess a little bit of both. But if we don't make the postseason or we're not in the picture or close enough in the picture, you would like to think we would start rolling out the young guys. You would want to think that. Hey, what does Ishikov have? Okay, hey, we would think that's the way we would head. Who knows in practice if it would happen, but I can't imagine Lou Lamoriello being here if he missed the postseason 2 years in a row. Tony Cheese, Grumpy.
That game last night was worse than one of Drew's non-existent reviews of Japanese music.
Oh, God, Tony Cheese throwing firing shots over there. Matthew S. Grumpy.
He has, but I think he'll get better. Needs Pellick as his D pairing. I don't know who he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about Pulak.
Talking about Dobson, who's regressed.
Oh, okay. That's right. That's right. Dobson should be paired with Pellick. Absolutely.
Get him on a good team with a system and a good partner.
Sure.
And Drew says here on the latest episode of Phil's Facts Saga, he thinks we should trade away Noah Dobson. Why? Because he's quote unquote no better than Tony DeAngelo.
Phil's insane. Phil, 2 weeks ago or a month ago, Phil was saying trade everybody, burn the house, sell the kids, sell the house, sell the dog. Now he wants to keep everybody together. Now he wants to trade the young guys. Oh.
No. Phil, I tell you, Phil's done the most flippy floppy things this year. The start of the year, after we struggled, he said, sell everything, burn the whole thing down from the stakes. And he said, no, we're 1 or 2 pieces away from competing for a cup. And he was back to burn the whole thing down. And now he's sell Dobson.
Well, he's true. The 2 pieces were Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr, but yeah, whatever. John Mack says, right now, give all the young guys top minutes, trade, release, reassign 3 to 4 forwards. We will not get to 80 points. I think we will get to 80 points. I think we'll get close. I think we'll probably have 88 points at the end of the season.
Yikes. Right. No.
Because says Parise, Pajot, and Casey play hard every night. I agree. The rest of the team goes through the motions on some nights. 100% agree. Yep. Players are tired of Lame already after only 41 games. I don't know if they're tired of him or just the situation that they see themselves in. I think that maybe could be a bigger issue.
It's the fat cat mentality that these freaking players have had since day one of joining the fucking Islanders. Back under Crapawano, back under Barry Trotz. The same exact mentality of, oh, okay, yeah, we're just here. We'll be here the whole year. I don't have to worry about my spot being in jeopardy. I'm just kind of meandering about. We have made our farm system devoid of young talent because we trade away every single noticeable first-round pick we can get our hands on. We give that away for deadline acquisitions. When you're not drafting in the first or the second round, the guys that you're picking up are not going to be as skilled. They can't challenge the old fat cats on your team who are performing like lazy, shitty dogs. So,
you don't, that's exactly right. They're comfortable, they're happy, fat, dumb, and happy, right?
Nobody can come and put fire underneath their ass because we don't keep the draft picks and select players that can put fire under their ass. So they just get further cemented in this I can't lose my job mentality.
There's no competition for spots. Yep. There hasn't been for 5 years.
Yep. Ever since Lou's been here. And even under Crappy, same thing.
Everyone was gifted a spot in the lineup, even at the offseason. You heard all the pundits, all the beat writers. Oh, this is probably what we're looking at for next year. How can you say that? I mean, and once again, when you keep on trading, it's not even like you're trading one of first round draft picks for guys who are Romanov excluded. But he's a bad example because he's a crappy player. But you're not trading away for a young talent. You're trading away for guys who are in their 30s. That's what they used to do when free agency first started. Sign these guys who are 31, 32 years old to 7-8 year contracts. It's just so dumb. You don't see people doing that for the most part anymore. Those guys sit till the end.
Drew Licata, Grumpy, got a lot of comments. Drew Licata, I'm going to rely upon you to read all of them. You're better.
I just wish time would freeze, and the only people who would be able to walk on the frozen time is literally anyone but Lou and Fredo Lamarillo.
Jesus,
Frankie says Romanov is pure shit. He's much worse than Rich Pilon. At least Rich Pilon played position.
Rich Pilon is nice too. Rich Pilon's been on our show. Alexander Romanov has not. Therefore, Rich Pilon, much better NHLer than Alexander Romanov. Not even close, Grumpy. Sorry, Fredo. Grumpy, Frank.
Agreed, but he only scores. But only one scores out of them.
Talking about Parise, Pajot, and Casey Cizikas, the effort guys.
Yes, true.
D-cut.
The ballerina had cramps last night, otherwise known as women's issues. Hey, nothing. Hey, keep on. At least one thing about D-cut, he's going to ride that take as long as it takes.
The ballerina could put up 50 goals and he'd still call him a ballerina.
He used to talk about Gretzky like that too forever.
So, I don't know where this came from.
CJ, the Red Lupin Power Ranger says, why is TJ wearing reddish pink lipstick?
I guess it looks like I'm wearing lipstick, but okay. I'm not, but that's fine. Freedom, fun, and adventure, Grumpy.
I am not the sky is falling guy, but it is time to call it a season. Inconsistent play from the Islanders goes back to JT, Poso, Michael Grabner, Bailey, get blown out immediately after the game, invites fans to play video games.
Oof. Yikes.
It's like there's no accountability. There's no accountability. Joseph C. says it's weird how Lou didn't see what Islanders fans saw to begin the season, that the Islanders had way too many bottom six guys in their lineup. That's the way it's been for years. For years. Do you all know the first one to call him out on that? This show.
Yeah.
This show. 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
Too many of those guys, not enough skill players. Frank K says anyone who blames our goaltending is clueless. Correct.
Yeah. D-cut.
Romanov has been awful on this trip. Thought he turned a corner on the homestand, but that's not the case. Maybe he's got some little Russian chippy that he'll get married to, make him a better player.
He's already married to, and already his wife is pregnant, I believe, Grumpy.
Uh-oh.
So guess what that means?
Oh, no wonder.
We're gonna see play drop next year, ladies and gentlemen. I think his lady's pregnant, and if that's the case, I'll tell you one thing: Romanov might be out of the league in 3 years if that's the case, Grumpy. The fire in his belly will be gone. Rick Roma says, Lou, what are you hired for? Is it to help us? Does that seem clear to you? To help us, not to fuck us up. To help those who you're going out there to try to earn a living.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he's going to get the Glengarry leads. That's for certain.
He's going to get those Glengarry, Glenn Law.
That was a great movie.
Glenn Ross.
That was a great movie. You could tell it was a stage play turned into a movie, but I tell you what, I would have loved to see that on Broadway. I would have loved to see that on Broadway. It was really, really good.
The actors in that movie are all fantastic actors too across the board.
And the writing is so good. That's the thing the movies lack today. Good writing. Everything multiverse bullshit. No, stop.
Freedom, fun, adventure, Grumpy.
The rest of the year should be about development, teaching, weeding out, maximizing assets, and preparation for next season. It would improve the draft position. Absolutely. Brian Johnson. What's up, guys? Trouble ahead, Brian. That's what's up. Frank K says he got nailed in the Oilers game. He's not La Bum.
Oh, God. Patrick Vesna says, hey, guys, what's up? I'm back. What's up, Patrick? How are you? Good to see you back.
Are those dogs wearing Packers?
Green Bay Packers helmets.
Wow. I didn't know they made those for dogs.
They do. So okay. you can get Dog Z a little helmet or something.
Brian John says Romanov trade I predicted was awful for us. Guys, trash. High first rounder for trash. Over this jabroni. I know there was someone else who was highly upset at that trade on draft night.
I think they spoke in a very couth and responsible manner and did not say anything that they probably regretted. D-Cut, Grumpy.
D-Cut says injuries aren't an excuse either. Kurt's article today shows Islanders are in the bottom half of the league in man games missed. True.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Kevin Kurtz, great. That's right, Matthew S. Anthony R. Grumpy.
I love it. Now these so-called Islander fans can see what it looks like without Barzal in the lineup. True. That was honestly last night. That was the first. I watched that on TJ. Did I not call you up and said, "Holy shit,
we suck"?
This is, oh no, we suck again. No Barzal, no team.
Rick Roma, Grumpy.
Sounds like you both think the Islanders' window is closed. Yes, the window's closed. The doors have shut. The nails have been applied. The hurricane, the tornado is coming. So if that's the case, wouldn't it make sense to sell the deadline? That's not Lou's way, though. Yep. Well, that's why Lou should be gone.
This is why Rick Roma, I am worried about.
That's why he doesn't get coffee. Coffee's for closers.
Hey, right now, Lou looks like he's going to be the one without the job. Things don't look good for us. And as a fan base, we're going to be left with miserable hockey and a freaking big rebuild because he will continue to give away the future of this team. And it's just going to be prolonged and steeped mediocrity. I'm worried about that. I really am. As a fan, I think to myself, we're going to give away another first and a second round pick this year to double down on a team that does not have a chance to win a cup. Anthony R. Grumpy.
I hope we tank the rest of the season. This team is garbage. Lame has to go. How can you night after night come out not ready to play? Yeah, it's mystifying. But, at some point, you have to say to the players, hey, guys, you're all in your freaking 30s. You all live in the same cul-de-sac.
You're a professional. You're a fucking professional. Act like it. Play like it. Conduct yourself like it. I need to see better fucking effort. Shit like that. That's what you need to see from Lane. Not the, okay, yeah, I got you. That's the shit that pissed me off about Trotz. I need to see some fire out there. I need to see you bitching at the fucking players when you see that shitty effort. I need you to call a timeout and start tearing a fucking asshole in some of these guys who are just freaking dogging it out there. That's what I was expecting from you, Lane. That's the type of fire and energy I saw of you as an assistant coach. I haven't seen a damn bit of that as a head coach from you, and that worries me.
Okay. Brian John says, tank for Bedard. I don't think we can tank enough to get him.
No. The tank would have to be like we're not winning a game the rest of the year, and we still wouldn't finish the worst team in the league. By the way, a Buffalo Sabres won tonight. So Buffalo Sabres 4 points behind us with 4 games in hand over us.
Well, that's bad news.
Yeah. So, just giving you that
a young team on the come. Watch out. They need a goalie.
That's a team we talked about who if I was the Buffalo Sabres, I could justify trading for a guy on an expiring deal to then re-sign him back to help your team transition to success.
Hey. Bring. Hello, is this Kevin Adams? Yeah. Is this Lou Lamoriello? Yeah. How about we send you Mayfield and Varlamov for 2 1s and a 2. 2 1s over the next 2 years and a 2. We'll take that. I'd jump all over that deal. All over it.
Hey, I wouldn't.
They got plenty of cap space.
JG Grumpy.
Grumpy, why are you sitting on the opposite side of the couch? You usually sit on the left-hand side. It's true. Just keeping things fresh. You understand.
Is Dog Z up there sleeping on the couch, Grumpy?
Dog Z's not allowed on furniture. Dog Z knows he's wonderful, and he knows he's sad because his little master isn't here. Son X is not here, so we're watching Dog Z this weekend, and he gets a little bit, he's a little melancholy missing his master. Brian John says, worst prospect system in the NHL, worst GM in the league, no future, same old players, no upgrades.
I don't think we've got the worst prospect farm in the league.
And
it's not great.
Well, only Seattle because, actually Seattle's higher than us. I think we do have the worst prospects in the league.
Bolduc, I like Bolduc. Ratu's still a prospect guy. At Ishikov, DeFore, maybe there's hope. A little bit. Glimmers. Anthony R.
Takeaways. I'm worried about Pelech, so are we. Romanov sucks, and I want him traded if he has any value left. He's not going anywhere. The core, Nelson, Lee, Bailey, Pulak look very old and slow. We need a new GM and direction. Absolutely. But here's the thing. We on this show, Anthony, you've been a long-time listener. We've been talking about this for a long time now. Now everyone's going, holy shit, the stupid old bastard and the young jerkwad who sits next to him over there.
Young asshole. Yeah.
They were. I didn't call you that. They were right all along. I knew it. Like I said, everyone eventually comes over to my way of thinking.
Do you remember the heat that we were getting? Not immediately. Immediately we suffered at the beginning of the year, but maybe around game 20 or 25. The amount of shade by some fly-by-nighters they were throwing at us on Twitter. They were throwing at us on social media. Trust me, I got all those receipts saved.
We'll yeah, and believe me,
TJ
does. TJ, he's vindictive like that. Believe me, those circus clowns who put that shit in, let me tell you something, by the end of the year, they're all coming out. They're all coming out.
Hey, trust me, I didn't forget a single one of those.
That bitch is going to pay the price.
They're going to pay the price. And here's the thing. I don't like our team not playing well. Right? So don't think I find joy in our team struggling. We have to go through a struggle to get to the freaking promised land, though. If we're prolonging the struggle, it's like if you're afraid to swim. I know that, hey, this pool is going to be designed. It could be 5 foot, then it goes to 18 foot, then it's 5 foot again. I don't feel confident in my ability to swim. I don't want to have to swim in a spot where I can't stand up. You're going to have to get across that freaking fear in order to get and across that tough time in order to get to the promised land. It's as simple as that. We're freaking afraid to go through that tough time, though.
If I was an owner, if I was the owner, I'd be way more like George Steinbrenner, than Malkin and Ledecky, because I say, how much of this do you have to see to realize how bad does it have to get before you determine to make a move? You did, for a team that didn't make the playoffs, you made no moves in the offseason. Nothing.
No moves at the deadline, no moves in the offseason. And if you don't make the postseason again,
at some point in time, you got to say, all right, buddy, this isn't working. We're going with a new direction, younger players, younger GM. I think this team is simply way too comfortable. Time to shake things up.
Yep. Way too comfortable is right, because it's not.
How many years have I been saying that? It's like 5.
Since we started this show, we've been talking about the country club mentality.
Yeah.
Michael Bechet, Grumpy.
Hello, gentlemen. Is it really a surprise that this team is struggling? Lack of talent on the wings. Barzy didn't make All-Star because he'll beat McDavid. He beat his ass in a speed contest. It doesn't matter. Like I said, that means nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, we don't have enough skilled offensemen. We don't have enough skilled forwards. It requires our defense to be more offensive minded, which gives up more chances to opposing teams going the other way.
True.
Tough to win games. Matthew S.
Barzal is going to need lumbar support after carrying all his teammates on his back.
You know what I can't wait for? When Matty B finishes the season with 50 goals, 40 goals, a goal a game for the rest of the year. Okay. He's over the 7-game span. Mat Barzal's had a goal a game. So I think for the remainder of his career, he may hit 1,000 goals, Grumpy.
Doubtful.
He's just that damn good.
All I have to say to the people who say that, Brock Nelson's our best player. Do you think that when teams go into game plan for the Islanders, do you think they say, hey, what are we going to do to stop that second line center? Or do you think they say, hey, let's, like Boston. Boston knows how to shut Barzal down. Put 2.5 guys looking at him. That's what they do.
What do we? Okay, you've got to really fix, like when you keep pulling, it goes when it keeps with the little. But when they're planning, do you think they say, how are we going to make sure that we can take away Brock Nelson's space? Because when Brock Nelson's in space, he creates. We've got to prevent him from creating and having any open space.
You know what?
Wait a second. They say that about Mat Barzal.
You know what they say about Josh Bailey? Just let him do whatever the hell he wants. He's not going to be an impact on the game at all.
There was a 3-on-1 opportunity in close with the goal, and I could not find the damn replay. And Josh Bailey is bad, didn't post it, and I was so upset with myself. But he was in a spot to where he had a 3-on-1. He didn't shoot the puck, didn't pass the puck, and it freaking squandered the opportunity away. But Anthony R. Grumpy.
Other takeaways. Sadly, the best forward consistently has been Parise and Pajot. I agree. With the exception of Barzal. Barzal has been by far the best. But yes, Parise and Pajot have been Parise first, Pajot second after that.
D-Cut.
Barzal looked better on the wing, freed him up from his defensive responsibilities and his awful face-off percentage.
Whatever you're doing with your freaking shirt or your mic, you just make it worse. Jesus Christ. It's like you're pulling the cord at the bottom, which ruffles the mic, is what it is. Brian J says Barzal carrying the whole team. Absolutely. JG Grumpy.
Sit guys, you normally sit and see how the rest of the team reacts. Sit guys, you would normally sit, see how
You
the team
wouldn't.
reacts.
You wouldn't normally sit.
Right. How many times have I said that? Remember
Yeah.
last year when we were told sitting the young guys lights a fire under the old guys? I'm like, that's absolute horseshit. That never works. If anything, it just reinforces the fact that they're the sacred cows.
Yeah, Michael Bechet says we've got to ship out a few big fish, get first rounders. We also need talent on the wings. Absolutely. Nick D says, TJ Grumpy, how you guys doing tonight? We're doing all right. I know it's been more of a angry podcast with a little bit of vitriol to it, but here's the thing: we all knew this was coming. Midway through the year, 41 games in, 46 points, on pace to have 92 points, on pace to be an average to slightly above average team. We all saw this coming. We talked about it for freaking months on end. It's not like we're using a small sample size of 5 games. Well, hey, this is a record over 5 games. This means we're going to be the first. We're going to be the first team in the postseason. We're going to win the conference. No, we're 41 games and we're halfway through the season. We are exactly what our record says we are at this point. It's that simple. We've been a team that has been relatively healthy compared to the health of the league.
They are who we said they are.
Andre M. Grumpy.
If Lou really going to be the GM next year if they miss the playoffs? I can't imagine it. I think unfortunately, I think he's going to step upstairs and they're going to give the job to Fredo and he's going to fuck it up even worse.
Yikes. That would be awful. You want to see a fan base turn on a freaking organization so quick. Wait until some nonsense like that happens.
What's he ever won? What's Fredo ever won?
They won one postseason series for the Islanders in his time there. So
I don't think he's ever even won a scratch-off ticket. JG says, and I know most of us have a sore spot for Beauvillier, but he has to be moved. True.
Yes, he's got to be gone.
True. Yep.
Like a good guy, he does. And it's better for him, too. Better for us, better for him. Better for all parties.
Brian J. says, just play the kids. Enough is enough. True. Trade Varley, bring Snyder up for backup, trade Parise and Mayfield. Absolutely. And his thing, I'd move Brock Nelson too. He can get you 2 number ones. Brock Nelson can get you 2 ones. Oh, there you go. Trade Brock and get value while you can. Absolutely. Grumpy, why are you wearing that disgusting shirt? It's a whale stuck in a cul-de-sac. The free of the skate, Grump. If you want to wear a Canucks shirt, wear the skate. That's the best logo for the Canucks. I 100% agree. I don't have that, though. So I'm going to say I wore this because the Canucks were nice enough to give us our only victory on the road trip. So I figured I'm going to support them since they supported the Islanders just a few nights ago.
The Canucks organization is a very nice organization too. Good. And now this was years ago we're talking about, but really, really, really nice and a nice organization on that side, I'll say.
Most hockey teams are really good organizations.
Yeah.
They're just better people. Hockey in general is just a better class of people who are organized.
The people are not, unless you live in Canada. Well, here's the thing but the people are not at the same, social status to where people are like, oh my God, that's Austin Matthews. Oh my God, that's Wayne Gretzky. Remember, one of your nephews, Grumpy, said that Wayne Gretzky was in a bar in Raleigh, North Carolina, just drinking, and nobody knew who he was except him at the bar. It's not like, okay, if you had Tom Brady walking into a bar, everybody would know Tom Brady in the U.S., where nobody can really tell who the hockey player is or who a professional world footballer is, unless they're like, oh, this is Cristiano Ronaldo or Neymar. Nobody knows who, Wayne Gretzky is in certain parts of the United States.
A broad generalization is that the players in the league they're just, I want to say, more down to earth than other sports players.
Yeah, and
that's a real broad generalization, but to a man.
It's easier to be more down to earth when you don't have people throwing themselves at you every single time. It's easier to be a normal human, where it's not like every time you go out there, say, oh my God, Tom Brady, can I get your autograph? Can I get a picture with you? When nobody knows who you are, it allows you to be a normal human, I think, a little more.
I think it's the way you're raised.
That too, sure.
I think that has a lot to do with it.
Anthony R. Grumpy.
New GM has to be creative and move old core guys. And our defense, we need a new group. Only untouchable is Pellick and Dobson. That means move Mayfield, Pulak, Romanoff. Huge mistake. I can't see them blowing it up.
Romanoff is a huge mistake, is what he said.
Yes. I don't think we would move. I don't think it's possible to move everyone, but you have to start transitioning away. I'd give Romanov another year. If somebody would offer me 2 first-round picks for Pulak, I'd move him. I absolutely would.
So, yeah, I will say this year, you're not going to be able to blow everything up from scratch. We've got too many guys who I think are still valuable and they serve a purpose for us. I think that it's just a forward group that needs a lot of attention and detail. D-cut, Grumpy.
It's called an entry-level slide because of his age, and he signed his ECL. The contract slides a year if you don't play more than 9 games in year 1 and 2 of his ECL.
His entry-level contract. So if you play less than 9 games, he doesn't, or if he plays more, if he plays 9 games or less, he gets it. He doesn't start the entry-level contract for Ratu. Brian J.
TJ,
Grumpy.
that hair is thin now. Wow.
Yeah, I do what I can. JT Sandegate. When you acquire a player at $5 million cap hit, the cap hit stays against the cap. The amount that you pay is real money. Let's say $2 million. It doesn't count against the cap. The $5 million does. And so I'll show you it afterwards. I'm going to skip over all those comments about that. We'll just talk about whatever that off air. Anthony R. Grumpy.
I hear everyone wanting Meyer, but at this point, I'm not trading my first rounders in guys like Wally or Ratu, and that's what it seems it would take according to what I'm reading online. Absolutely not. Like I said, here's the thing. I'm willing to move whoever I can, dip into the free agent market for a guy like Horvat. That's what I'm willing to do.
God. Well, if I'm in the rebuild, I might getting a guy like Horvat.
I would. You're still going to need players who can score on that team. You got to transition to a younger group.
Michael B. Grumpy.
The longer Lou waits, the more this team plays, the worse they get, the lower the value of the player we could trade, depreciating assets. 100% agree.
I'm laughing at this on JG. Grumpy.
Effing quiet cap on, Grump.
Dude. Oh man, there's no malice when we argue like that too, but I'm like, usually we get in a lot more screaming matches when we're not on the show. The show keeps things, I'd say, more even keel and mild tempered. Would you not agree, Grumpy?
No, it's only when you're doing something really stupid that I say something to you.
Fucking
when you do something really dumb shit, that's when I call you on. Other than that, I never argue with him. But TJ does a lot of dumb shit. He's half Polish. He's got a built-in dumb. Sorry.
Goon Grumpy.
TJ and Grumpy. F the Islanders.
Fuck the Islanders.
Oh, F the Islanders? If Ratu plays 10 games or more, the first year is burned. Okay. Cap space is accrued over the year. So when you get to the deadline, most of your players' cap hits are accrued. You take the whole cap hit when acquiring. I don't give a shit if we burn a cap year. I give 2 shits.
Okay. Drew Grumpy.
TJ, my ears are bleeding because you screamed into the mic. You're going to pay for my hearing aid.
Google says, win a game, lose a game. Win 2 games, lose 3 games. Win 3 games, lose 2 games. Win a game, lose a game. Win 2, lose 3. Win 3, lose 2. Win a game, lose a game. Win 2, lose 3. Win 3, lose 2. Win a game, lose a game. I'm telling you, it's just, yeah, we haven't really had like a streak of a really big positive or negative streak at all this season. That may be good. So we're relatively consistently average, ?
We're just meh.
What's worse, right? Because there are average teams that are streaky where they'll win like 10 in a row, but then they'll lose 10 in a row. Is it better when you're an average team to just be muddling about to where you don't win a whole lot of games, you don't lose a whole lot of games in a row, you just kind of win some, lose some, kind of alternating? Or is it better to be a team where it's like, we win 10 games and we think we finally solved the issue, and then you go through the heartbreak of you lose 10 games and you're ready to jump from a building?
Like Jim Valvano said, it's good to have your emotions moved. So, you're on an ultra high and an ultra low, as opposed to just meh. Let's just plod through. Hey, next year we'll suck again. We'll be average. Yeah, I'm glad I'm rooting for this team. Maybe, no, I'm not going to buy the new jersey. because, well, we're not exciting. I mean, wouldn't you rather be Buffalo than we are right now? Big picture. Wouldn't you rather be Buffalo Sabres?
Yes.
Who thought I'd ever say that?
I'd rather be the Buffalo Sabres for the next however many years than the New York Islanders. Yes. Absolutely. We said the same thing about the Rangers. Do you remember when we said that about the Rangers 2-3 years ago? We said, yeah, I'd rather be the Rangers and have the Rangers' future than ours.
Yep.
And last year it came to fruition.
Well, I was going to say JT Sangate. It was exactly what I was talking about. Accrues at the deadline, they can add $1 million, which equals $4.5 million in annual cap hit.
So yeah, the cap space accrues. You get more cap space throughout the year, and this is Stefan Rosner posted about it. You get more cap space throughout the year, so that's how you can build up your cap space.
Exactly.
But the cap hit is the same. The cap hit does not change. If the player has $5 million cap hit, it's going to cost $5 million. That's it.
Right, but
you have $2 million that are available of cap space. You technically will have more cap space at the deadline to utilize, but the player's cap hit will be the same.
Right. So if you had $2 million when the season started and it's 7.5 at the deadline, that means you can trade for a player who makes $7.5 million.
Yes, but the player who makes $7.5 million will make 7.5.
That's the only point that I wanted to make. That was it.
So we were arguing it's like a dog chasing his fucking tail.
Right. The All-Star game has become the trophy for all scenarios.
There it is. Okay, I'll keep scrolling. Here we go. Rich A.
The acquiring team must assume at least 50% of the remaining salary and cap charge of the SPC.
Okay, we're going to skip all those cap things because I think we're on the same page now. The All-Star game is a complete waste of time in sports.
True. It used to be good in baseball. I always loved baseball the best of all the All-Star games.
Grumpy, I'm gonna give you a scenario. We're 2 hours into the show. We still are an hour and 30 minutes behind on our comments. So here I'm getting to that realization point where I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna have a 4.5 or 5 hour show. But we could just go ahead and go balls to the walls on the comments and just have a good time, just not get through all of them and just provide good content, or we could try to do our best to get through them. Let's just do what we want to do. Goon Grumpy.
Who's the all-time most unfunniest? Paulie Shore, Pete Davidson, or Joe Piscopo?
Paulie Shore.
Yeah, Paulie Shore is pretty bad. The only reason he was a comic because his mom was Mitzi Shore and she owned the comedy club.
Rich A. Grumpy.
Such a contract.
Okay. It's still more about the contract. D-Cut. I find this one funny.
Millennial Meltdown, #1 by TJ on the All-Star Game selection.
Oh,
I think he had another Millennial Meltdown also on this podcast.
Grumpy, I was ready. Grumpy, if I was with you, I'd be like, ah! I was ready to flip a shit, Grumpy, on you.
D-Cut said if Barzal knew how to play some D, maybe he would be out there when the other team with an empty net. All right. Simon Holmes doesn't know how to play any freaking defense, and he was put out there as a damn rookie. Sorry, stop.
Alexander Ovechkin is not known for his defensive prowess, but he's out there every damn game on the internet opportunity to pad his fucking stats.
That's right.
Oh, my goodness here.
Keep the $9 million man happy.
Nick C. Grumpy.
This team's future can be saved. We have a solid and relatively young D and a goalie, hit on a few forwards in the draft with the 2 or 3 forwards we have in the HL. In 2 to 3 years, this team could be in a good spot. True, but you can't continue to trade away draft picks. Period. Can't do it.
Brian P. says, why are we attacking Brock? He's one of the only guys that has done anything on this team. There are many other guys who deserve more views. I don't think I was attacking Brock. I just don't understand who he's put in the All-Star game. I just feel, here's the thing. I feel for Mat Barzal there. He's the most skilled forward we've had on this team for years. And we're putting guys like fucking Adam Pellick in the All-Star game. And guys like Brock Nelson over Mat Barzal. Mat Barzal is the best damn skater on this team. Most skilled player on this team. He's not been to a single All-Star game yet.
Really?
Yeah, Mat Barzal has never made an All-Star game. Yes. Okay. That's what I mean. I'm just like, they're giving it to Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson over Mat Barzal. I'm just flabbergasted by it. Okay. Over 12% of Brock Nelson's point production this year has been empty net points. I don't know. It's going to be hard to make a case that he's anyway. I like Brock Nelson. Grumpy, I know, doesn't like him as much as I like Brock Nelson a lot. Does not deserve to be in the All-Star game over Mat Barzal or Sorokin. Goon, Grumpy.
Grumpy, who are some of your favorite MTV VJs? The only ones I even know were Martha Quinn, Alan Hunter, Nina Blackwood, Mark Goodman, Kurt Loder. He wasn't really a VJ, and the guy last name was Jackson.
Drew Grumpy.
First name.
Drew.
Off topic from Drew from hockey, but gosh, Tennessee just needs to just trade Derrick Henry. It's clear without him, they're a bottom 3 team in the NFL. I don't think he's got much value at this stage. Do you?
He's kind of towards the tail. Hold on. Are you watching NFL football right now? Is that what you're watching?
No. I just said you think he's kind of the tail end, don't you, though?
What games are going on right now, bro?
Nothing is going on. I keep telling you that.
The Titans are playing the Jaguars, and that's what you're watching today. Okay. I don't know why
I'm not watching anything.
Oh, okay. Grumpy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't give a shit if you're watching, whatever. And Brian P says, who cares about the All-Star game? I don't know. It's one I care about I enjoy the All-Star game. I still care about I think it's nice to be recognized by your peers and by other players in the league as being one of the top players in the league. That's why I feel like that's why it matters for me. It's like
they're not even picked by the players or the fans. They were this group was picked by the NHL.
It's nice to be noticed by the NHL fans, the league, etc., for your accomplishments and your play on the ice. It's just nice to be noticed.
Can I just say one thing? When your TV team has been ripping you for years for not doing certain things and giving other guys a pass on the same shit that they do, it's tough to get that from the other players in the league.
That's my thing. The Islanders cartel. The Islanders cartel, Grumpy. Gungun also says, Grumpy, what's up with the Canucks shirt? That's one of the saddest sack franchises in all the NHL. Not to mention choking/failing to finish off the Rangers in 1994. They can't sniff it.
They were nice enough to give the Islanders victory. I figured I'd support them tonight.
Ah, there it is. You sound like Marshawn Lynch there.
Yeah. Matt S. says, I think this argument about who got selected is ridiculous. Brock deserves it, and so does Barzal and Sorokin. Sorokin will get selected, and if Barzal doesn't, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter.
Here's my thing. We don't deserve to have 3 guys selected for the All-Star game. We're the 8th best team in the conference right now, and with teams having game in hand. We're a middle-of-the-road team. We're about the middle of the pack. The teams that are the best of the best deserve to have 2 or 3 guys on there. The Islanders don't, in my opinion. I think the Islanders are only going to get 1 guy, and it's going to be Brock Nelson, unfortunately. So another year with that Mat Barzal, another year with that Sorokin. Jake K. Grumpy saying, we suck. Is it me or there are a we suck chant at the Coliseum in the mid to late 90s?
I don't know if there was. We suck. Maybe. I know that was like Kurt Angle's thing. You suck. You suck. Yeah. Maybe we just do we suck. That'll get the GM, the owner's attention. I can tell you that much. Brian P. TJ had a spaz attack at the gym when he said that Barzy didn't make the team. He needed a quiet space and a therapist.
You know what I did when I was at the gym? I called up Grumpy and I said, holy shit. I said, did you see who was selected for the All-Star game?
And what did I say?
You're too busy watching TV. He's like,
what did I say?
What did I say? Show. Who cares?
What did I say?
Who cares?
What did I say?
Who cares?
Who cares? It doesn't matter is what I said.
With Barzal out, they still kept Ratu on the 4th line. This organization has a 1989 mindset. Lou must go.
That's right.
JS says here, the only way the Islanders make it is if the Penguins blow away.
Or if Buffalo continues to play well. We're just writing off that no one else from the Atlantic is going to make a shot.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I had mentioned. I said, here's the thing. People that had written off that Washington Capitals team, they're wrong. That's all I've got to say. They're wrong. Players are getting healthy. Schedule's very easy relatively to the first half of the year. That also being said, man, oh man, Grumpy, Florida may even surprise us too and get hot. Yeah. The talent is there. Mm-hmm. I think Maurice blows as a head coach, so they do have that working against them. But you're right. Buffalo could very easily add a defenseman, maybe a goaltender, and they're a team that, if they add a defenseman and a goaltender, they're making a postseason over us. No doubt in my mind.
I agree. Craig Anderson's not the answer for them.
Correct.
Ponyboy Curtis says, ugh, boys, I missed the beginning. I had to talk to my bitch-ass counselor. I don't know if that's Ponyboy's real face there or not.
Yeah, that's Ponyboy. Huh?
Okay. I'm going to say, because that looks like that's not something you pick up from the internet, I don't think.
That's old Jerry Springer, Grumpy. There it is. Hopefully the counselor wasn't too much. Yeah, didn't you tell the counselor the TJ and the Grumpy old man are on? I need to get out of here. I got to listen to TJ and the Grumpy. Anyway, right. Brian P said Buffalo is a good-looking young team. They have 5 games in hand. After tonight, you have 4 games in hand, 4 points behind the Islanders. They are great. You have to be excited if you're a Buffalo fan.
Yep.
D-Cut says, team won't play for Paul Maurice. The guy's a quitter. Been telling you this all season. You have been saying it all season.
That's
I'll
right.
give you credit on that there, D-Cut.
That's right.
Absolutely have. I agree, though. Paul Maurice, miserable. Gotta get rid of him. Goon, grumpy.
Count Lambert should be held accountable for the Islanders' poor habit of farting their way through first periods, game after game after game.
Him and the players have to take ownership.
How about professional responsibility? You hit the nail on the head with that one, DJ.
Here's the thing. We gave Trotz a lot of shit for that, too. Now that I'm seeing they're doing the same thing under Lambert, I'm like, it's the players. When we were giving Trotz shit for that, it more ownership belonged on the players than on Trotz.
Yep, the cul-de-sac crew.
So we give you, I apologize, Trotz. I burned you at the stake. One of the many things I burned you at the stake for was the team not being focused and ready to play first periods, and how a Hall of Fame, coach needs to be able to get the team fired up and ready to go. The players have to take ownership now. It's not just, it wasn't just a you thing. It's a them thing. Buffalo will trade for goalie. I can see them look at Miles Blackwood.
Okay. I don't think Blackwood's that good.
Freedom Fund Adventure says,
not certain Lou is man for the job, but sign Horvat, trade for Jeannot, trade Pelech for Timo Meyer, younger, no concussion. Bolduc will be ready, trade Varley and re-sign in the summer, acquire left defense. That's a lot of moving parts. You bring in a new GM. I have to think if you were interviewing, you would have the owner would say, what would be your plans for this team right now? You couldn't say, well, I'd want 6 months to look at it and make my assessment. You'd have to hit the ground running, right?
You'd have to say, yeah, I like these certain aspects of the team. These are the players we need to build around. These are the guys we need to actively look to have a little bit of a change of face on. This guy needs to go. That guy needs to go. These are the type of players that we're looking for. This is the type of model. This is the type of brand we want to put on the ice. That's a lot of what those conversations look like between general manager and ownership when they're hiring a new GM. Punter Curtis says here, sounds like TJ had a millennial hissy fit. Yes, there it is. As always, Michael Boucher said, perfect. Move Mayfield and Varlamov to Buffalo for a first.
You should get more than a first.
Absolutely. Brian J said, trade everyone.
Trade everyone.
Varlamov would look great in a Buffalo uniform.
I think he would too. And Tommy Baffey, and he was digging through the trash in the Islanders office, said that they were not on his no trade list, Buffalo.
There it is. Drew, I did not get a meme you sent me. Send it to me again on the right Twitter DM. I only have the Islanders page pulled up right now. It's a Josh Bailey meme. Oh, goodness. Worth at least a first, second, or in third. I think it's going to be probably 2 firsts and a second. I think that really Mayfield being as cheap as he is, and with as much postseason experience and success as he is, he'll be an expensive price tag. D-Cut said, Tika says, I don't
Andy
like
Francis is a tool. He was telling us how good this team was before the season. I remember Andy Francis saying that we were going to have 7 or possibly 8 20-goal scorers on this team.
6 or 7. I remember.
No, he said 7/8. And I'm like, dude, you're dreaming.
He said, no. He didn't say. He said we had the potential to have 7 or 8 guys have the potential to have 20-plus goals.
How many guys do you think will score 20 goals in this team this year? 3, 4?
I don't know. Dikata says we only have 1 player on pace for 30 goals this season. Oof.
True.
Brendan Burke sounds completely deflated calling the games. He will bolt real soon. Skills lacking.
Skills lacking.
Like instead of a schlacking, a skills lacking, says John Smith. I like John Smith's new profile picture. You just see him back there on the right behind Lane Lambert.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that John Smith back there?
Yeah, that's John in the picture. That's why he's got that as his new photograph, because that's John right in between the two coaches.
Beautiful.
John McManaman says, we are at the start of a 5-year rebuild. I don't think it's going to be that long.
I disagree. Even if you do a total blow up, 3 years tops.
Sorokin, you can convince him to stay. The defense is not going anywhere. All this is the forward group. You can add a guy here or there. You've got Mat Barzal signed long-term. Oliver Wahlstrom can step up. I still believe in him. Aatu Ratu has shown that he can play. You know what I mean? 5 years from now, he'll be 25 years old. That's a prime Aatu Ratu, a prime Mat Barzal, a prime Oliver Wahlstrom. I don't think we're 5 years away. I think it's just the forward group, and I think realistically 2 or 3 years tops.
The whole thing is whatever limited offensive talent we have in the minors or the guys who've come up have to be solid contributing pieces going forward.
Correct.
If they're just ham and egg replacements at the end of the day, it's a longer rebuild.
Like what do we have? And William DeFore is nowhere near ready, right? I don't think he'll ever be a good skater either. But you'll find out, hey, what do we have in Ruslan Ishikov? What do we have in William DeFore? Right? William DeFore this year, 33 games played, 12 goals, 10 assists. Not terrible. I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know my thoughts on him. I've made them very clear across the board. But Punter said, Barzal's injured, boys. What are we going to do? Everybody's saying fire Lambert on Twitter, laughing my ass off. This is all on Lou.
100% agree.
Yeah, more and more of the Twitter sphere getting angry at Lane Lambert. It is on Lou. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We said as soon as Trotz was fired, everything else from here on out is on Lou Lamoriello.
Yep. JS says here, Lou gave Lambert shit to work with.
True.
Yep. D-Cut says winning record versus current Eastern Conference playoff team. Okay, I like how it's like saying we have a winning record against current teams that start with the letter A that play in the Atlantic Division. Okay. Have we played Washington yet? Okay, no, we haven't played Washington. How many times have we played Pittsburgh?
Once.
Okay, once. It's just like you look at the teams that we've played, you look at the remainder of the schedule, right? We still have to play, right? Boston 2 more times. We played Boston once, lost them in OT. We went 1-1 against Carolina. We played them twice more this year.
Those are 2 losses.
We won 1 game against Toronto, I believe. We played them twice more. We won, I don't remember. I think we're 1-1 against the Devils. We've got 1 game
against the Devils, 2-1 against the Rangers. Who are the other teams in the running? I mean, Tampa we lost to twice, right?
We beat the Rangers a few times too. But the Rangers, we went 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 against the Rangers. Toronto, we won an overtime against it. I don't know. I'm still kind of worried.
Still wins.
We got Tampa at least twice more too, right? Yeah.
Those are 2 more losses. Here's the thing. When it comes down to nut crunching time, we ain't beating Tampa.
Oh, man. Good gracious. John Smith said, the offense needs to be completely dismantled and rebuilt around Barzal. I couldn't agree more.
True.
Andre M says, the Islanders should look to trade Pulock. He looks so slow out there.
100%. I would absolutely field calls on him.
I want to go back to this, though. Even though we haven't played the whole season yet, this is better. And D-Cut, this is a good point. This is a better record against playoff caliber teams probably we've had this year than last year. I don't know what the whole consortment of the winning percentage or points we have won that are available against playoff teams right now. And we're not, the playoffs aren't taking place. So, some teams may slip in or slide out from that time period. But we're at a spot to where we may have a better record against playoff caliber teams this year, but we squandered points that we never would have squandered with Barry Trotz as the head coach against shitty teams.
True.
So, we always said some of the good, some of the bad. JG says, TJ, maybe you can get Lou on the podcast next year when he's no longer general manager. Maybe we'll have a 4-way podcast, Lou Lamoriello and Mike Milbury, and we'll ask him about their legacies. Who's been a bigger detriment to the Islanders franchise? And we'll ask them to state their cases.
It'll always be Milbury.
Yeah, Pulock has been bad, says JG. John Smith, Grump.
It's not necessarily a lack of scoring. They have trouble with the ozone possession. Simple things like completing passes comes hard for this team because they're not talented. They're just not talented.
Rob says another dark age is coming if Lou continues.
True. It's like, what do they say? If a meteor hits the earth, it'd be covered, no sun for 2.5 years. That's kind of what it's going to be like.
Brian P says, bro,
Pellick being out and the Islanders are still 8th in goals against. They're still a top 10. The defense isn't a problem.
I don't know. We give up a lot of chances going the other direction. And I think, again, the problems that come from the defensive side of the puck are because our offense is inept and we ask our defense to do other jobs. Anyway, Lou doesn't know what the term outside the organization is.
That's true.
Frank, what's up, Frank? He says, what type of injury does Barzal have? It just said lower body injury. He took warm-ups and then didn't play the game. Lower body injury.
No nasty comments, people.
Yes, I did hear from one person that from D-Cut, he said maybe he had a little bit of a stomach issue. Goon says here, Grumpy, where does ripping up the floor for Sun X rate on your top personal highlights of 2022?
It was not a highlight at all.
Have you gotten that thing done for Greg Prado, by the way? I sent you a text message about it again today.
I did not. I got a text message from you at 7:45. But
Okay.
I will get that done this weekend without
Okay.
doubt.
There's an assignment I've got to get done for Greg.
I've had Son X watching Son X's dog. He kind of throws everything. The house is a state of flux when dog Z is around.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's in flux. How long do you think it usually takes you to whip up 2 or 3 sentences? Does that usually take like 5 days?
No, but here's the thing, TJ. Unlike you, I put thought into the things I write.
I
That's
knew
why-
as soon as I was like, God damn it, I know exactly where he's going to take this shit.
Well, it's the truth. It's like, this is TJ's sentence. C spot run. Run. Dick sees Jane. No. John S says, I don't understand how this team has had a lot of success making defensemen and not making forwards.
Ryan P. Whoa, Grumpy. He's got the cat up there with the Ultimate Warrior. Ryan P. I love this little.
Just joined. I'm sorry, but I'm disgusted with lack of urgency by the front office and the ownership to get this team to the next level. The UBS honeymoon is over. I want to see a cup contender. Well, I suggest you watch teams like Carolina and Boston and Tampa if you want to see a cup contender. Those are the type of teams you watch.
Brian P. would probably help Dobson or Romanoff not to be so aggressive and give up more odd man chances. But yeah, talking about being too offensively minded there. Schmidt was awful for the New Jersey Devils versus the St. Louis Blues on Thursday. New Jersey dominated.
True. That was the game. That's right. New Jersey against St. Louis. I thought that's a game Jersey should have won. And they, like I said, totally dominant. Bing, bang, boom, one chance, goal. And then 3 minutes later, another goal. It's like, oh, my God, who the hell's the goalie?
Rob says this is a mediocre team with a below-average front office.
Agreed. That's an accurate assessment.
And Josh says here, the Islanders have always been like this. They struggle away, and they're good at home. Except last year. We were bad on the road and at home. But yeah, for the most part, better at home, worse on the road. Frank says here, I'm telling you, the best part of Romanoff deal will be that, the kid defenseman, he's a kid defenseman we got, will make it a good trade.
Well,
you're talking about Calio Delius.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's see. Here's the thing. I like what they did in last year's draft. I like the transition to modern NHL style of defenseman.
Okay. I do too, but shit, I just can't get off the damn Lou. What in the literal F was that from Doug Peterson? I assume they went for it on 4th down or something crazy.
I have no idea.
Matthew S. said, nah, injuries are not an excuse. Absolutely. Absolutely not. Ryan P. says here, anytime Pelech is out, we are in a mess. Better teams thrive, even when losing a star like Crosby or Stamkos.
Here's the reason why. You see other teams are more talented, okay, than we are. So, and maybe they have to take lesser roles when you have a guy like Crosby or Stamkos on there, and maybe they're given a chance to shine when those guys are out. Everyone else lifts the team up. Who are we elevating? Simon Holmstrom's? Michael Del Coles? Mike Nick D says, TJ, I don't know what's worse, listening to Leah Hextall doing the play-by-play or watching this podcast while Grumpy is wearing the Whalers shirt.
Oh, and it's pretty bad. He is wearing that Canucks shirt. That's right, Nick D. I think you should keep pounding him on that one. I even asked him when he started the show. I said, what are you wearing a Canucks shirt for?
I told you why. I explained it. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I explained it.
Grumpy, tell me why you're wearing a Canucks jersey. This is inexcusable, Grump.
They were nice enough to give us 2 points. I figured I'd show them some love. How about that?
Matthew S. says, the Kurtz article was excellent. Not afraid to be real. D-Cut says, missing AHL caliber right wing Oliver Walsh. Look at this bastard, D-Cut. Look at him. Brian P. says, 92 points will not be enough.
Probably
Matthew S. says, you need 100 points to make it, in my opinion.
In the East, you do. In the East, you do. Not necessarily in the West. But still, that's what it is. It used to be, oh, hey, if you get to 92 points or something like that, you qualify for players. That's not the way it is anymore. It's Leah Hextall. My ears are still bleeding. So my eyes, I feel like I burned out my retinas looking at her and that freaking, that whatever the hell she had, those bangs.
Yeah. John Smith says, Lou should not wait until the deadline. We're just going to keep slipping down the standings.
True.
Standing pat is a diabolical disaster.
Yes, agreed.
He says, Grumpy, I'm curious to see how you do the explaining to young TJ of who Uncle Floyd is.
Uncle Floyd was, I forget, I think he was on PBS. It was a silly little show. Um, you're going to have to look up Uncle Floyd.
Yeah.
They'd have some goofs on there. They'd have a couple of contestants. They'd do little, hey, spin around a bat and touch something, and just goofy little games. He was just moderately funny. I think he was just on Long Island. I don't know if he was all around the rest of. He always wore a hat, Uncle Floyd. I think he was in the movie Good Morning Vietnam also, Uncle Floyd, I believe. That's him.
Uncle Floyd.
Yeah, that you have to see it to believe it. I have to believe there's some YouTube highlights of Uncle Floyd.
And what do you? So I've got to see it to believe it. There, and Uncle Floyd.
Yeah, it was something you had to experience. But if you look at this getup, it kind of gives you an impression like, okay, this is going to be something a little eclectic, a little weird.
Floyd's looking old as shit these days.
Well, what do you expect?
Oh, that's man. Him. Hold on a second.
Always remember the hat. Yeah. Gosh, it's funny. I don't remember him looking that young back in the day.
Let me do this here.
And they used to have some little games, and people could win 50 cents at the end of the night. I don't know what the hell. That's not it right there. Yeah.
No, it's not a happy time.
Yeah, talking about the Islanders.
Well, Muggsy went to New York and gave blood.
Oh, to the hospital?
No, at Yankee Stadium.
Well, what happened, Oogie?
Well, one guy kept trying to sell him a watch, and Muggsy didn't want the watch. So he told the guy, scram. The guy hit him on the head with a board, and then two guys jumped him and took his wallet. Then a drunk attacked him with a broken bottle.
Well, I tell Muggsy to stay out of those bad neighborhoods. Why does he walk around looking for trouble?
This is almost like an Islander fan going to Madison Square Garden with Islanders uniform on. An
go.
Islander fan going to freaking Philly to freaking go to a Flyers game.
Yeah, like I said, you had to watch it. It was like a train wreck. You watch it, you start watching. Probably best to be inebriated in some fashion, makes it way more enjoyable. So there's something to consider.
Brett W says Lou has never been a seller in his whole career. We just won't do it, even if it needs to be done. Yep, that's what I worry about.
Needs to freaking go.
Hunenberg Curtis says, "What's Lou going to do at the deadline?" TJ, I can answer that for you. He's going to double down on old and buy at the deadline. Some mid to late 30s hack. Somebody the same ilk of as Jeff Carter. Yeah, we're going to be in trouble.
That's going to be the worst, most angry podcast ever on this show. I'm going to tell you right now.
Romanoff was a bad.
I am pissed off thinking about that. If he does something like that, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. You thought TJ lost his mind on Romanoff? I could see maybe even on that podcast. I'm like, okay, maybe. This, that, maybe, okay, it works out, but something like that, no. Gloves are freaking off.
I told you on that show, I said, this is a harbinger for what we're going to do the remainder of this year too, just to keep giving away. If we sell Bavillier, Mayfield and Varley, gone, says Matthew S. And we missed the playoffs by 2 points, says Ponybear Curtis. Brian P says here, Lou has already doubled and tripled down. He stinks.
He sucks.
Hold on. Did I miss a few comments? I'm sorry. Yeah. Brian, I'm sorry. Brian P said 92 points will not be enough. Maybe I said that earlier. I don't know. I get lost here in the comments. Oops. Okay. Here it is. Goon, you just brought me back with the Uncle Floyd reference. There it is. And Brett W says, there's no reason not to move Chara, Green, and Clutterbuck last year, and he couldn't bring himself to do
that
it.
Lame excuse. Well, we committed to them for the year. I don't give a shit who you committed to. What is this, a freaking charity? You piece of shit.
Hey, my job made the promise to go ahead and keep me employed as long as I do.
You know what? You know what? Here's the
my
thing.
job, they can fire me.
You want to know what your job? You promised the ownership that you were going to make this a better team.
He did.
How about that promise? How about that failed promise?
He did. He promised he'd bring us a cup.
Yeah, not a coffee cup.
Noah W. Grumpy.
What frustrates me is that none of our vets seem to have fear of losing their spot in the lineup. This is a road, Noah, that we've been down for years and years.
And I feel like a lot of listeners of the show and a lot of fans who watch the Islanders are seeing this more and more too.
Yep. We should have signed a VC, Milano, Abe Kubel, Kubalik, give Bo, Bailey, Lee, Wally, Ajita. True.
Punaber Curtis says here, we get a Palmieri 2.0, an F quadruple minus, and we lose in the second wild card spot to a team in the Atlantic or the Rangers. Mark my words. Put it in the envelope.
Put it in the envelope.
And obviously we give up our first round pick as well. Oof, Rich A says, watch Lou trade Ratu for Bo Horvat. And then he walks at the end of this year. Oh God.
Like I said, I'm not trading any of that.
He said
you can sign it for free. Give him a big contract. You want him that bad? Sign him in the offseason.
Scott L says here, would you keep Ratu up when Palmieri comes back?
Yes.
They're not going to. Thomas B. Grumpy says, gents, I'm no fan of Lou. However, I don't see ownership giving the okay to sell. They have a multi-billion-dollar nut on the arena. They need to fill seats.
Well, you're not going to fill seats with this freaking lousy product.
When you build a multi-billion-dollar arena, you're not looking for, hey, I'm only looking at what it looks like for the next 3 or 4 years, unless this is legitimately a property grab where you're trying to sell the team. When you build a multi-billion-dollar arena, not only are you looking at the production and the revenue from years 1 to 5, you're looking at 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20. It's a long-term investment. It's not something that you look at for 1 year.
Very true.
So, Nick D says here, I guarantee you that Lou will do nothing again at the trade deadline. Like you said, Grumpy, management needs to be wiped, cleaned, and start over.
Absolutely.
Gungun says, TJ, I was disappointed to hear that you don't floss your choppers. Plaque buildup equals doo-doo breath. You don't want folks whispering, TJ is a gentle giant, but his breath smells like a raging rectum.
Very true.
A raging rectum. 5-4-1 versus current Eastern Conference teams as of today. Thank you for that D cut. Okay, good to know. We got about 500 teams.
Gosh, that means we haven't played them very often.
No, we haven't. So that's what I said. When I said that the remainder of our schedule is the toughest half is next half of this year, that's exactly what that means. I think we have a losing record against Western Conference teams in the postseason. So we have a losing. We only had 9 wins against teams that made the playoffs last year. We'll be better than that this year, but our record against shitty teams is even worse.
Yes.
Get to the comments, old man. Oh, we're trying to get through them all. And the general manager will be Lou or Chris, because Malkin is an asshole POS. Ryan P said 100% next general manager is Chris Lamorilla. Ryan.
What a nightmare.
Ryan, don't make me I was about to say, I need to go to sleep tonight. I don't want to wake up sweating and just having to wash the sheets because I've been sweating all night thinking of Chris Lamorilla, next Islander general manager. I don't want to think about that. Brett W. Grumpy.
TJ, I think we do know who the GM will be, but we just don't like it. Lou or Fredo.
God almighty.
Where's Barzini to come in and wipe out the family? That's what you need.
Maybe I am just trying to push that one off. I'm kicking that dreadful thought down the freaking gut. Down the road. My God. Oh,
Brian P says, Scott Levy, I would, unless you're going to keep the fourth line. That's worthless. He needs minutes, so send him down.
Oh, man. D-Cut says, shout out to all my YouTube fans. Drew L, Goon, Freedom, Pony Boy, Frank, Nick D, Andrew L, just to name a few.
Don't worry, D-Cut. TJ's going to make sure that their comments get read. Pony Boy says, a desperate team will pay a second round and an AHLer who is serviceable for Parise. Why not?
Yeah, they definitely give him a second round pick for Zach Parise. Absolutely. He showed that he could do it as a bottom 6 guy for a team making a postseason push. Welcome.
Like the next comment.
Bailey's a clown?
No, not that one.
Ratu
will be traded for Tom Chorsky.
Oh,
he's an old devil. Old. The emphasis on old.
Matthew S. says, guess what? One of those two.
Tom Chorsky is absolutely the type of guy that Lou Lamorilla would trade for. That type of player. You have to know what Tom Chorsky was. He was a third liner worked hard, but he was Tom Chorsky.
Tom Chorsky.
Chorsky.
Anyway, Brett W. Grumpy.
Thought with Trotz gone, Bailey would finally be off the power play, but nope. Yeah, I mean, it's like, God, first line, power play, no points, no goals, no shots, nothing. He sucks.
D-Cut.
TJ started the show only reading YouTube comments and ignoring the Facebook comments as usual.
There it is. Mookie Betts are grumpy.
Why is there such a disconnect between what the fans think of Bailey and the coaches? Also, Grumpy, you kept pushing Bellows on us, and he can't even get consistent time in Philly. I thought he was actually gone now. I don't know where he is. All I said was Bellows played well in the preseason, was one of our top 3 forwards. Give him a shot. He was never given a legit shot here. That's why I said last year he should have played the last 40 games, and it was so obvious we're not going to make the playoffs. Find out if he's part of the solution or not.
Mookie Betts are the reason why guys like Kiefer Bellows aren't successful are exactly how you find situations where you find a diamond in the rough, like a Hudson Fasching, a guy who was never able to stick anywhere. Buffalo, anywhere he had been, was never able to stick. When he got chances and opportunities, was not put in places to be successful and to succeed. You're going to see yourself bounce around a bit until maybe you finally get the right opportunity to showcase your talent and ability. So it's possible. Probability is different, but it's possible that he's not been put in the greatest chance to succeed. And he played well in the preseason and immediately deflated all the players' confidence by saying, yeah, I know you had a great preseason. I think you led the team in points. You're scoring goals left and right with assists, but yeah, you're going to be on the third line in the first game you play like 6 minutes, never to play again. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And Islanders JJ said, I said this the last time, I'll say it again. We got to do what the Leafs. We got to do what the Leafs did.
Get rid of Lou.
Thalia is back, Grumpy, and I'm happy she said, I told you the Islanders should have signed Nazem Kadri. Thalia, he's played well. He's played well. I was not expecting him to play as well as he has this year. He was a representative, I believe, for the Flames.
I'm glad we didn't sign Kadri. It would have been a mistake. It'd
be more throwing good money after bad.
Just, again, why? Why not Gaudreau over Kadri?
Kadri this year, 40 games played, 15 goals, 15 assists, 30 points.
Okay.
He's played well. I mean, imagine like a Brock Nelson type performance. They built with the draft, says Alice JJ. Putnam Curtis says the YouTube post, TJ, is 100% no after 15 votes. Okay, gotcha. So nobody on YouTube thinks we're making a postseason because I made one on YouTube and Twitter. You can tell those who actually listen to the show laughing my ass off, not like the Twitter fools. I was about to say, I know amongst the people who listen to the show, I'm sure it's going to be a much heavier favored no, we're not making the postseason compared to yes, we are. But I figured I'd give one out to Twitter to kind of get the feeling of even people who don't really listen to us. D-Cut says, I kept telling you, TJ, don't play doctor, you bald-headed jerk. You can hardly read. Yeah, what do you think's wrong with Pelech? Maybe he's got a toenail. Maybe he's got a back injury. That could be it. I think Pelech just has a bad back injury. He could be back by that second half. I think he's good to go.
Possible, yeah.
Meatball Parm, what's up? It's like a reunion, Grumpy. Thalia, Meatball Parm, all some familiar faces. Meatball Parm, look at that beautiful Meatball Parm. Grumpy says, good evening. Did the matching Christmas pajamas at Grump and the Warden's house make an appearance this year? They did.
Absolutely.
They did. I was about to say.
The Warden absolutely loves doing stuff like that. She loves it.
Grumpy, you want to see what I'm wearing right now?
Probably. Oh, look at that. Yep, that was it. Those are the pants.
I'm wearing the pants. Wearing the matching pajamas pants. Those clothes that the Warden gets me are like the sleep pants I wear for that year. So the Warden just provides me sleep material for the entirety of the year. I'll be wearing Christmas pants in June and July.
And so does Paige. They both wear them. That's all they wear.
Pony Curtis, Thalia was here all the offseason this last year saying we should look at Nazem Kadri and sign Nazem Kadri. And then she went into the ether and then came back after Nazem Kadri plays the Islanders and gives them the what's for. Thalia says, that's right. I told you should have signed Kadri. I like her, though. She keeps her receipts. She keeps her receipts. I like that.
Right. I like Thalia. She's all right.
Mookie Betzer says, you wanted more scoring, you got more scoring. It just continues to lose defense. It's the healthy median. It's the healthy mix.
Well,
But, yeah.
there is no healthy mix when you don't have any talent up front. It's one or the other. Period.
Funniker says, bruh, Grumpy, why the F you ripping the Canucks? What's the matter with you?
All right. I'm sure Pony Boy has heard the story. I've
Okay.
mentioned it numerous times already in this podcast.
Yes. Mookie Betzer says, making the playoffs and getting Boston in the first round is no prize. You got to hope you get the Leafs. They're more beatable. Well, the Leafs.
They will absolutely beat us this year. They have to win division.
We don't.
Not going to happen. So
Yeah, I was about to say the Leafs are going to be playing Tampa.
if we get in, we're in the 8th spot. We're not getting in. We might be 10. We probably have more of a chance of being 10th than 8th.
Drew L said, I think it's about 50-50 we make the playoffs or not.
Think
about that. Think about what indictment that says, right? This is a guy who said, we believe in the team. Fans out there, even optimistic, a more optimistic viewpoint is like, yeah, we've got a 50-50 chance of making a postseason. I believe in a 50-50 chance. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to make any moves because I believe in a 50-50 chance. What a load of shit that guy is. D-Cut says, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. Which commercial is this line from?
Do you know what that's from, TJ?
No.
Hair Club for Men.
What is that? What president was that?
That was the thing. I forget who the guy was. He said, I'm not just the president. I'm a client. Do you remember the movie Goodfellas? They had Maury for Maury's Wigs. And he would jump in the water. Oh, look, you jump in the water. It stays on. Hey.
I never watched Goodfellas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, never watched Goodfellas. Never watched.
We'll have to do a watch long on Goodfellas.
Oh my gosh.
Goodfellas great.
He said it's Hair Club for Men.
Yeah, Cy Sperling. That was it. Cy Sperling.
Ryan P. knew. D-Cut says, I'll let you read that comment.
You guys, Cy Sperling. You guys should be honored that lots of Isles Misery rated our leadership are loyal listeners to the pod. Hey, D-Cut. Now you heard me earlier talk very highly about them. You know that. You know I'm a big fan.
An evil Facebook group house.
Hey, does anybody remember Peter Lemongello?
That name sounds familiar.
They used to have commercials on all the time. He was singer, and I think he put out one album. I don't even know what it was, but it was on all the time. I think it was Peter Lemongello was his name. I don't even know how to spell it, but it's Peter Lemon and the Jello is Gello. My God. He definitely had an interesting haircut, Grumpy. I'm trying to find one where I could see. Well, that's probably the only picture you're going to get of him. And I just remember those commercials all the time. Or, selling classical music. They used to have those commercials. Somebody in the Paula Betsy and Dance, number 2. And they put good stuff. Yeah, what can I tell you?
Peter freaking Lemongello. Hold on, Grumpy. Here he is. You hold on. Finish up your statement. What you want? You were paying appreciation. Isles Misery rated R, Grumpy. I'll let you finish that.
Yeah, I did. No, I said that. I gave him a big shout out earlier. Huge.
I'll tell you this here. I see there's a video of Joey Diaz shitting on. Oh God, he says he's the world's biggest scam artist. Peter Lemongello. Joey Diaz is not a big fan of him. Oh God.
There was some album he sang. Couldn't tell you any of the songs, but every day they would show it. You know how now they have infomercials? This was like an infomercial. It's like on every commercial break, Peter Lemongello.
Peter Lemongello, Grumpy. But yes, Isles Misery rated R. All joking aside, we like those guys.
They're great.
Drew says here, Grumpy, what you just described in the first round pick squeeze is like Sequence is like Mike Milbury stuff. Come on, he can't be that dumb. Talking about if we trade it away and it becomes Connor Bedard.
Oh,
you're winning. Yeah. Are you forgetting what you talked about earlier this podcast?
Oh, that was a long time ago. I said a lot of stuff since then about first round picks.
Ryan P said, I love when Grumpy calls guys ham and eggers.
Ham and eggers.
I'll send you Bosley's, says Frank K.
Bosley. Yeah, Bosley, not Bosley. Bosley.
Oh,
Bosley hair restoration. I remember there was a guy who used to work. He was bald as shit, and he got himself one of those. It's like they put plugs in there or something. And he came in, and everyone was like, he shaved it. He's like, nope, can't do this. It looked like, dude, you're bald. Just roll with it. And he was old. He was like in his late 30s or something like that. I'm like, oh, his name was Phil too. And so he used to have black hair, parted on the side in the middle. Always used to wear a white button-up shirt with a little white T-shirt underneath.
Hold on. Did he live in Canada too, Grumpy, or something?
He had a girlfriend in Canada. You know.
Stop. Okay, good. Oh, Jesus Christ. And
his name was Phil, though. Was Phil.
You don't know who it is? Oh, you know who it is, you bald head jerk. Michael Bechet said, I'm sorry, but Snow was the worst. Brett W said, no worse than Milbury, though. Regardless of how or why it happened, there's still deep playoff runs with Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah, he won't be looked at as a bad tenure, regardless.
AG says, TJ and Grump, I know many of us joke around with you both, but I truly enjoy listening to you guys talk about, the team we all love. Thanks for the time you put in to create this incredible podcast. Thanks, JG, for the kind words. This is all, just a show that Grumpy and I get to spend time with each other, get to spend time. It's like almost like we're in a bar just shooting the shit with fellow Islander fans. That's what it is. And for people who feel like I can't have anything besides the Lou we trust, he can do no wrong. For that type of group that dominates the freaking social media spheres, you can have a voice here. That's really why we do the show.
I think it's better. I think it's usually better than me like going out and listening to people saying, "Are you a moron?" Because that'd be my usual spot. You got to be a moron, right?
Oh God. Well, here's the thing though. When you're talking to somebody, you don't want to be mean to their face, because I never be mean to somebody to the face, even if their thoughts are so unbelievably dumb.
If I know you, if I know you, I can do that. But
not if you're some new guy I just met. Cliff Neal says here, the team is not showing any spark against decent squads. They are well on their way to missing the playoffs again. They need to bring in somebody to put the puck in the back of the net and get rid of a couple guys that are taking up space. Sounds like a rebuild is what Cliff is in favor for as well. That's what I like to hear. JG said, Grumpy, do you know what ALF stood for?
I believe it was Alien Life Form.
Yeah. Lucky the Cat. That's what Frank said.
Yeah, Lucky the Cat.
Hunter said the Islanders are 0-5 when Lee takes a penalty in the first 10 minutes of a game.
He's taken a lot of lazy penalties this year because he can't move his feet, won't move his feet, whatever.
Drew L. Grumpy.
Should Grumpy call the real old farts like Clutter green ham and eggers? Yes, that was a Dr. Seuss reference. I think it's a rhetorical question.
I still like the ham and eggers. Brett W says, I can never forgive Milbury for trading Luongo and drafting Rick DiPietro #1 overall. As batty as Lou is, he never would have done something that stupid.
That was the one. That was the deal. That was the deal. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
No.
I tell you.
Gabrick.
I've always been a Bobby Lou fan. Always been a Roberto Luongo fan. My God. Freaking giving away Chara. Giving away Luongo. And you look at the guys who were drafted right after Rick DiPietro, and you're just left to kind of just.
Here's the thing: DiPietro was not expected to be picked that high. People couldn't believe it. It was Gabrick or Heatley. Those were the two guys who were supposed to be 1 and 2. Period. It was 1 and 2. That's it. Nobody else.
Man. Damn, Danny Heatley's one of those guys that. Oof. Yeah. Anyway, and you think about it, we gave up that pick that would have been Jason Spezza too, didn't we?
That was for to get Yashin.
Yeah.
That was after that.
I know, but I'm just still saying about the blunders of Milbury. D-Cut says the ballerina was definitely missed last night. No doubt about it. There it is. D-Cut. I like it. But Curtis says the Wotherspoon experiment. What about the 15-year Josh Bailey experiment?
Nightmarish.
Noah W said Lane said that Pellick is almost skating. What does that even mean?
Almost skating? Okay.
So like when we used to have those concussion tests, they do like a whole bunch of like tests on a computer and a whole bunch of these tests to see if your reaction time and a whole bunch of other stuff is good enough and quick enough. There were some guys who would be like, oh no, I feel fine, but they couldn't pass that damn test for a long time. I don't know. Concussion technology comes a long way since I played, but closest skating could be like, oh, he's 2 weeks away. Okay, he hasn't been doing really probably any physical exercise, and now when you start, he's probably going to take 2 or 3 weeks of skating until he's ready to go. He's probably a time period from him being back in is probably going to be after the All-Star break. But hey, the sooner we get him back, the better. Frank K. Grumpy.
WW is on the verge of being sold within 6 months. It's the only reason why Vince McMahon came back. He couldn't handle Triple H having success running the company. I don't know about that. I don't know. I know Vince is trying to get back in after he stepped down. I don't know. I can't even watch the product anymore. They've gone away from the things that made wrestling great.
Punter Curtis says, should the Islanders play Raw 2 more than 9 games and burn that entry-level contract year? Yes and no, and why? Grumpy said he doesn't care. I say no, unless you commit to the rebuild. But that's the only time I say yes. Storm Chase Mike says, TJ Grumpy, are we prepared to even think of a career-ending injury to Adam Pelech? We may need to prepare for that. I don't know. The guy said that, who the heck knows? Islanders JJ says that maybe he's close back to skating. I'll be honest, I don't watch every Lane Lambert interview like I used to do under Trotz, so I can't really tell you what he said. I'm just trusting Islanders JJ there. And if he says he's close back to skating, hopefully he'll be back this year. But here's the thing, right?
He's been out a long time.
Crosby had time periods where he came out there, played, and then immediately he had to be like, he's been out there for over a month. That's severe injury. And that's all. That's severe. It's really severe. Michael Bichet, Grumpy.
Pelech reminds me of Dennis Vasky. Okay.
Love Vasky. What a shame. He had so many concussions and it ended his career.
Yeah. I don't think it's the end of Pelech's career.
Neither do I. Providence Bruins beat the Eval says here. Providence Bruins beat the Bridgeport Islanders 6-3. Scarrick sucks. Oh God. Don't like to hear that. Vinny Smith.
Do you think the next GM will allow press to ask hard questions? Also, out of town scores and minor league report. I don't know if they would know how to ask a tough question. They haven't done one in so long, and they were banished, get stripped of their media credentials if they have to ask a tough question.
Yeah, and when you're,
they're just doing their job. I don't know if you don't like it, tough shit. It's like that's the way he does up in the Boston area with Belichick. He's like offended if you have to ask a tough question. Like, hey, how come your team sucks since Tom Brady left? Do you think maybe it was because you were the reason why he's successful? Piece of shit.
Oh my gosh. Let's see here. Now, Drew, I don't have a TV in this room, so trust me, I'm not watching the game. But I do know I've got it on a spreadsheet, little updates. Right now, Jaguars up 20-16 on the Titans. The Titans have 1st and 10 from their 35-yard line with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left, is what the internet's telling me. So that's a close game. Storm Chase Mike says here, do we think Adam Pelech may have sustained a career-ending concussion? I would say no. But he said, I'd like to talk about it. TJ Grump, place your thoughts on this, please. I don't think so. No. I think it's very severe. Anytime you miss a month of action, it's a very severe injury.
That's a long time.
Head injury. Absolutely. Most players are out for a week, sometimes 2 weeks tops. And like football players, a week, 2 weeks. And, they're helmet-to-helmet contact all the dang time for the most part. Adam Pelech's been out for almost a month.
And, here's the thing. He could start skating, and then all of a sudden, I'm getting those symptoms again. That's a long time without even doing anything hockey-related.
Anthony Orr said, Phil's faction will be loud on your show again with comments he makes. Wow. I will say this.
Well, no, I'd love to have him on here, and then we just, we keep the receipts and ask him, answer for your comments, Phil.
Phil, here's the
answer for that Hair Club for Men commercial.
Phil does a good job where it comes down to I like a lot of the things I feel like are more, it produces thought. He'll say something outlandish, but he's trying to get a thought or people to go through a thought process. He's questioning people to think is the way I look at Phil more than anything else. We like Phil.
To let you know how the Jaguars scored here. It was a fumble with 2.5 minutes to go.
Oh my! So the Titans had the ball. The Titans have it at the 50 with 2 minutes left.
Well, they had the ball, and the guy went to come back and pass the ball, knocked out of his hand, rolled forward, I think 15 yards, then picked up, scoop, and score for a touchdown.
So hold on, what's the score of the game?
I don't know. Whatever you said, 2016, I guess. Shots fired at Pilon the Cowboy. Come on, Frankie. He was more than just a statue in Pittsburgh. LOL.
Yeah. I like Rich Pilon. Yeah, he's very nice man. Pilon was awesome. Yeah, Pilon is awesome. Still is. Says yeah. Rob used to love watching him eat Lindros's lunch.
True.
Oh man. Andrew L says here, I mean, I know Tony has a mutual respect between me, so I keep, the shots mutual, but the content I'm making is 2 hours in 2 parts. All Tony has to do is screen record and just upload it to YouTube. Whoa! Damn, Drew L throwing it at Tony T's.
No.
I'm expecting more clips from you, Tony. And don't give me that I was supposed to help you BS either. It's your channel. Damn. Drew Hell's throwing freaking shots. Oh man. I don't know, Grumpy. It seems like that there's some vitriol going on. Oh man. But hey, Grumpy, we're not probably gonna get through. Okay, I just see one from Dan. I know Dan comments in. I'll just
baby.
Grumpy got a baby comment there. Read that one real quick.
Let's say that they are not in playoff position and they start selling assets this trade deadline. Like Varley, Mayfield, Parise, possibly Bavillier. How long do you think before we are relevant? Would you trade bigger core pieces like Nelson and maybe Pulak and Pellick, etc.? I would absolutely move Varlamov, Mayfield, Parise, absolutely at the deadline. Here's the thing: if you want to move a guy like Pulak, I'm saying no to Pellick, but for Pulak and Nelson, I don't think you couldn't field a question and see if somebody's got to blow you away with an offer. I mean, you don't want to go to an AHL type team. You don't want to do that. But if somebody gives you like, hey, for Nelson, we're going to give you 2 2s. For Pulak, 2 number 1s. I'm sorry. You got to seriously consider it. I would.
The only defenseman I'm planning on moving, I would move Varlamov at the deadline with Mayfield. Other than that, I'm not touching the defense and goaltending. What I'm looking to do in a forward group, I'm also trading away Parise at the deadline. The forwards that I really would consider moving, right? Either Brock or Jean-Gabriel Pageau, one or the other. I don't think it's redundant, right? If we're doing a retool, right? Gather some assets for one of them. Because just like you mentioned, you don't want to go to an AHL team. You trade both of those guys away, you're back down to AHL territory. It's a little easier to say, okay, Ratu is going to be a third line guy this next year. Or, depending on whatever gives you the best offer, whatever gives you the best return. I think Bavillier is a guy that has to be moved as well. I don't think I don't care. Don't trade the fourth line. Don't really give a shit. You could just keep them puttering around for a little bit longer. You don't want to have to rebuild the identity from scratch. So, there's guys that I think we need to move that should be considered to be moved. Some guys have some value. You're not like you're trading the entire team away. I'm not moving defensemen besides Mayfield, and I'm not moving Sorokin unless he's unwilling to sign back. So, anyway, Frank says here, he's keeping the cushions equally broken in. That's why he's going from spot to spot. I like that.
That's good thinking, Frank.
Let's see here. Internet going to cancel Grumpy for his Polish slander.
Hey, my kids are Polish. What the hell can I tell you?
Where's the fire hydrant, TJ?
Duh.
Right here. And Frank says you can't trade Brock. If you get 2 first, what does it mean? With those 2 picks, you wouldn't get Brock's production. And you've seen us draft. Grumpy old man, do you want another Holmstrom? I've also, as many times as I've seen us screw up a pick, I've also seen us get guys like Atu Ratu and identify him as talent. So I've seen us make good selections. Last year's draft we talked about was something that gave us hope. But, it's just the age of the forward group. I'm sorry. Brian P says, I'd much rather be Buffalo, New Jersey, or Ottawa.
Ottawa's getting better. They're playing better. They have a future. We don't have a future right now.
Rob G says, don't worry, TJ and Grumpy. 5 in a row at home starting Tuesday night. Go Islanders. Hey, thank you, Rob, for the the optimistic thoughts here.
Always a ray of sunshine on this show.
It is. And then Islanders JJ says here, hear me out. I know this is a little while ago, but Brock Besser for a 3rd rounder is a steal.
I agree.
Okay, that's right. John Smith said Barzal did make an all-star game. He won the fastest skater that one year McDavid didn't go. Okay, that's right. I had forgotten. Thank you, John, for the reminder. That's right. He did go. Of course, Barzal made it. God damn it. I look like a fucking fool. Yes. Damn it. Okay. I see that. Yes. 2020. Man. Anyway, eating some humble pie. Drew L says here, Phil should be on a podcast, but Grumpy and TJ should just do an interrogation of Phil the whole time. No, stop. The Wicker Man says, nice new couch, Grumpy.
Thank you.
He says, are you guys watching the football game? No,
we're podcasting.
As Grumpy says with a smile on his face, like Kris Kringle, huh? With a little smile. Like, anyway, I'm sorry, we're continuing here. We're wrapping up here, guys, just because we're at the 3-hour mark. I'm looking for anything that has question marks in it. That's really what I'm looking for. Dan L. Grumpy, I'll let you read that.
Do you worry that Sorokin will bolt after next year as a free agent? He doesn't want to sign for mediocrity. I would hate to have to trade him away next year, assuming he won't sign an extension. I think that there's enough goodwill that he would re-sign. And here's the thing. If you want him to worry about mediocrity, keep the same cast of, shitty players like we have right now.
What happened in the game, Grumpy? You can't even damn pay attention to the comment you're fucking responding to.
Jacksonville wins.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, minute and a half to go, they just turn him over.
Okay. Yeah, Dan, I think that if you continue on the current path, I think it says more to Sorokin to be worried than anything else. I firmly do believe if you slowly sell off a few pieces on the forward side, it allows you to see, because I think Ratu has what it takes. I think Wallstrom has what it takes. I think they're guys who have what it takes. It just takes a little bit of time. You're going to have more draft picks. You're going to be able to build a little bit more throughout. And you also have some cap space that you could sign a legitimate free agent to as well. So, I think that the sale of the team being, not headed towards mediocrity, I think if you don't and you continue to prolong it, you would I feel bad for Mat Barzal because his career will be wasted on a shitty team for years and years. Frankie Castro says, if Bingo Lou is hard up,
it's so hard up on X-Devils, shame this team. Fire Lambert and give the gig to McLean. Anything to light a match without trading the dinosaurs.
Parise will have 20 goals this year. Parise is funny. He's got himself, I think, he's got 4. He's got like 13 or 14% of his points are empty net points as well.
Yeah, well.
Anders JJ said the only way to do a quick rebuild is if we draft well.
True.
Yeah. Greg Frost said they don't work hard every night. Some players have to go.
True.
Yeah. Paulo C says TJ Barzal scored in 2019. Okay, gotcha. The All-Star game. All right, thank you. I know I made a mistake. I'm not trying to rush it along, but yeah, I made a mistake. Happens. I make plenty of them. Brian J says here, sick of hearing this team needs to start on time. Pros should know this. Well-paid pros, no less.
True.
Last year in the playoffs, John Smith says here, I wish I got a close-up of the profile picture. They caught me leering at Bailey. Oh, shit.
Oh, I probably thought you were, I don't know.
You should give him the stank eye or something. Like
ooh.
Bailey. Oh, man. Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog. Explain that to TJ.
Gosh, which one? What was that? Sit, Ubu, sit. Oh, gosh, I forget what that was for. Sit, Ubu, sit. I forgot what. It was like the closing, like, at the end, it's by Bad Robot, and they said the little bad robot walking. This was at the end. It was like, sit, Ubu, sit. Gosh, I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I cannot remember. Sit, Ubu, sit. Gosh, it was popular, too.
Somebody let us know in the comments because Grumpy won't know. Nick D. Grumpy.
We should call this podcast the Canucks Never Say Die podcast. Grumpy, I'm from Vancouver, and I would not dare wear a Whalers shirt.
Sit, Ubu, sit is how I went from Brooklyn to what the hell is that?
No.
It's Family Ties.
Family Ties, that's right. Goldberg was the producer. Yes.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Yeah, the Gary David Goldberg Company.
Yes. Sit,
okay.
Ubu, sit, yes.
And okay, don't forget to press that like button. Absolutely, Nick T. Thanks for the reminder. That's right. Matthew S. saying, waiting for that emergency podcast if Fredo Lamarillo is brought up as Christ Almighty.
What a nightmare.
Punham Curtis said Rosner wrote an article today about how we should not burn a year off of Ratu's entry level contract. Yeah, I was about to say they're playing him 6 minutes a night. What type of purpose is he actually proving and providing if they're playing him 6 minutes a night? And Greg Frost says here, Lou should be enjoying his golden years instead of wrecking hockey teams.
True. Very true.
Says TJ, making believe he lost comments gives him an excuse not to read terrific comments by the loyal members of House Misery Rated R.
That's true. That's true.
Oh man. Quintuple minus TJ, not quadruple. Oh shit, I misread it. I didn't give the additional F minus. I did. It should have been quintuple. TJ, all I know is that AJ Greer video I sent you months ago keeps getting better and better by the day. AJ freaking Greer. There it is, TJ. Ignoring and skipping my comment, says Matthew. What comment we sent? I don't even know when we sent. No, we covered your emergency podcast comment. Who the heck knows? Bellows actually played well with Mat Barzal. I know. But hey, we wanted to put guys like Simon Holmstrom and Josh Bailey on the wing in Casey Zizekas. That's it. Hudson Fashing showed us a glimpse of the superstar type of moves at times. Love them. Big and strong, too. Gungun says, why so many stupid penalties this year by the Islanders? Did they catch a virus from the shitty Jets?
Lazy. They don't move their feet. Can't move their feet. Can't get there, so they reach. They hook. They trip. Let me tell you something. We get away with a boatload of stuff, interference-wise, holding, hooking. Honestly, I don't want to hear an Islander fan complain about. I hate when Butch complains. Well, that shouldn't have been a penalty. I said, yeah, but you know what? The 4 infractions down in the corner should have been. I mean, come on, stop.
Here it is. This right here. So Drew sent us a few, and we got a few from D-Cut as we're wrapping up the show here. This is the opportunity we're talking about from Josh Bailey. It was a one-time attempt, and this is the spot he was in. Which way do you think he should do? Shoot the puck on that on a one-time opportunity with a little bit of open spot there to that crossbody shot, or should he pass this to another skater coming in front of the net, or pass it behind the net?
Behind the net. That's the weakest move of all.
What's the second weakest move, would you say?
Just dropping the puck and skating off the ice. Realizing how close he is to the goal and just backing out, pulling out himself.
He passes the puck to this skater. I can't remember who this is, but there's not even a shot gets registered on that because the pass ones were getting intercepted. So, yeah, I do remember seeing that one. Oof, it's bad. He also sent here
the best one, the worst of the best of the worst was the Washington one last year. That was the worst.
Oh no, Stefan. No, Stefan, no! Oh man. He said you can blame Lamoriello, you can blame Lambert, but nobody was prepared for the number of injuries the Islanders have dealt with from key players quickly. The call-ups have been good, but if not better than expected, but they don't fill all the holes, especially the hole that Pellick closed. Oh no. You know, it's like I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. Stefan, you were supposed to destroy him, not join him. God. I don't get that. No, I we love Stefan, but I don't disagree. I don't agree on that. We lost bottom 6 forwards, and we lost Adam Pellick. Adam Pellick is a big loss, but our goalie, who is a top 5 goalie in the league, has been healthy all year long. 5 of our 6 starting defensemen have been healthy all year long. Our top 6 has been healthy for the majority of the season. I don't know. Palmieri hasn't really done. Yeah, injuries are not something we can blame.
You know what? I know it's a little bit off topic, but I think that Trevor Lawrence looks a lot like AJ Malesko with better hair.
What was that? I'm sorry?
Trevor Lawrence looks a lot like AJ Malesko with better hair.
Oof. Oh my God. So by the by, people in the comments on that, because he told me to read the comments, people are agreeing. The only 2 people we lost are Palmieri and Pellick, to injury.
Palmieri's been miserable. He's been miserable bad this year.
Yeah, 2 key players, Palmieri and Pellick. The rest are although I'll say the worst injury was to Varlamov, especially the way he was playing. Come on, ridiculous to blame the injuries. Look around the league. The team was mediocre before the injuries. Yeah, people are not buying the injury excuse, which is good. Why are we blaming anyone? Despite the injuries, they're currently a playoff team, which is pretty good considering what the experts predict. God damn it. I tell you, that David Tuckman, we're going to have to get him on the show one day, Grumpy. I know Phil's Facts, they do that podcast. So that him and Phil's
are these comments you're putting up or something?
I wasn't showing it over there, but he's a guy on Twitter. He I would say in the majority of things, he's probably in the opposite camp of us. But yeah, I guess, why are we blaming anybody?
Eighth. You're
'Cause-
eighth in the playoff. You're eighth out of 8 teams. And here's the thing: if there were 10 teams in the division, we'd probably be eighth. 10 teams in the conference.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't, again, like, as people like to parade around that we're in a playoff spot. That's a good thing.
What about the one above the Tuckman fella?
Yeah,
Can you? The Caps have been winning without Wilson and Bash for the whole season. I don't buy the injury excuse. There you go.
yeah, that's kind of what a lot of the people are saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the injury, it's an excuse. Is exact. This. If we don't make the postseason, here's your excuse as to
You're not
why
good
we're
enough.
miserable.
You know what? You want to know why you don't make the play postseason? You're not good enough.
Yep.
Your team isn't good enough.
Yeah.
Your team wasn't good enough to overcome any type of adversity. Your team wasn't good enough.
Yep.
If your team was good enough, you would have made the playoffs.
That's
Half the teams do. You're in the bottom half of the league. Period.
That's the exact issue, grumpy old man. If they don't make it, hold on. Here we go.
Facts.
You're going to enjoy this, grumpy. So I know these people because I have social media. You don't. So this is from this is the Isles Misery Rated R group over here.
I know a lot of those guys. They're really good guys. Oh,
There's Frank K. There's Frank K. right here.
Hey,
Long locks.
let me
There's
hold on.
D-Rich.
Let me see if I can guess.
Okay, I'll let you guess.
I know Frank K is on the right. Matt S is on the other side. Is D cut in there?
That's D cut right there.
Gosh, you're right. He is bald.
He just doesn't have his hat on. You know that is
yes, I know who that is. That's the
Brian P.
What?
Brian P.
Oh, okay, Brian P. Okay, who was I thinking?
That's J Rich.
J Rich. Okay.
So those are the members. Those are the Owls Misery Rated R group right there, Grumpy.
Looks like they've been tailgating for a while. That's a good picture of the boys, though. I'm gonna tell you.
It is a good picture of the boys. That was on a playoff run a few years ago, they said.
Yeah, I could tell that. Look at that. They're all happy. That's before game time. Very happy.
Oh,
yeah, we just rolled into the parking lot 4 hours. We used to do that too. 4 or 5 hours before game time, get obliterated, go into the game.
Gungun says, TJ, are you still obsessed with that huge gas station / convenience store in the South? Absolutely. Buc-ee's. I've got my Buc-ee shirt. I'll put it on for tomorrow. Gungun says, after all the negative chatter, the truth is all it takes is a hot streak by the Islanders. That is, if it's not too late. That said, I bet we'll sniff Charles jockstrap.
Or a cold streak from, being in Bedard territory.
God almighty. TJ, do you remember the classic movie? This line is from Hot Water Burn Baby. Oh yeah, Hot Water Burn Baby. That's from Rain Man. Hot Water Burn Baby. Hot Water Burn Baby. Rain Man. Yeah.
I can't believe you knew that.
I've watched the movie before. You tell me I don't watch it. I've watched the effing movie before.
You must have just seen it.
Yeah, that's it. I just saw it. I know there's a few comments we didn't get to, guys. We do apologize. Man, we've been on here for 3 hours and 20 minutes. So we apologize. We couldn't get through everything. We tried our best. But number one, I want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show. As we start to get to this point of the season, as fans, it's more of an emotional roller coaster than anything else.
Hide your guns and your straight edges.
Why is that?
You're not killing people or slitting your wrists.
Okay. Yes.
It's not the end of the world.
Yes. This is a sports team that we all love, but then it comes down to it's a sports team we all do love a lot. We are very passionate about it. We're fanatical about it, some would argue, because that's why we're big fans. But yes, it's sad that I think we can all, as fans and listeners of the show, when, participants of the show, we can all see kind of the writing on the wall. We could see what they're trying to do, and it's worrisome to me. It really is. But we'll be here always on that bi-weekly basis talking Islanders. Now, we do have a time period in February. When is the trade deadline again?
I don't know.
Hold a second.
Look it up. Ooh, maybe not so much skull on that one.
Sticking where the sun don't shine. March 3rd. Okay, because I know in February, you and I are going to be gone for about a week in February. So, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be too close to the deadline or anything like that, where maybe Lou might have made some crazy move early. But, I know that, we'll always be here doing this show. Hopefully, I know that this last week's been a stinker, at least with the performance we saw on the ice. And it wasn't even the fact that we were 1-3. I think it was the way that we played and the effort level we had out there. That's the shit that frustrates the hell out of me. And as fans, I think it frustrates you too, because a team that you've invested so much time, money, and emotions into comes out there and plays uninspired, shitty hockey. There's nothing that sends a fan over the edge more than that. So, we always want to thank you guys for being here, talking Islanders with us. And I want to thank you again, as always, Grumpy, for being here on the show.
My pleasure. And I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and a Grumpy Old Man.
Absolutely. DCAT got one more question. Says, Cracker Barrel or IHOP?
I've never, if you can imagine, I've never eaten in a Cracker Barrel.
What's wrong with you?
I never have. I like pancakes, so I guess I'd have to say IHOP. I've never had Cracker Barrel. How about you?
I'll take you to Cracker Barrel the next time you're here. How about that?
Oh.
I like all of them. I like IHOP, Waffle House, Cracker Barrel, like all those places. I know you don't like usually those breakfast type of food places. I love them all. I can eat breakfast any time of the day. But absolutely. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into the show. Thank you for your time. And thank you again, as always, Grumpy.
My pleasure.